I push open the greasy glass door of the burger joint, the smell of cheap frying oil and stale bleach still clinging to my uniform. My shift just ended. 12 hours straight on my feet, dealing with screaming customers and a manager who docks pay if you blink too slowly. I did it all just to make rent and pay for Lily's college tuition. But the moment I step onto the cracked sidewalk, my footsteps stop entirely. Parked right in front of the curb, entirely blocking the pedestrian path, is a custom silver sports car. It's the kind of machine that costs more than I'll make in 3 lifetimes of flipping burgers. But the price tag isn't what makes my stomach drop into my shoes. What makes my blood run cold is the girl sitting in the passenger seat, Lily, my girlfriend of 3 years. The girl I skipped meals for just so she could buy the designer bags she cried about. The girl who told me she was at a study group tonight. She's laughing, leaning over the center console to kiss the driver. The driver is Marcus Vance. Everyone in the city knows that arrogant face. He's the sole heir to the Vance dynasty, a billionaire playboy who treats ordinary people like disposable trash. I stand there frozen, gripping my cheap backpack so hard my knuckles turn white. Lily spots me through the windshield. Her bright smile vanishes instantly. She whispers something to Marcus, opens the gull-wing door, and walks over to me. Her heels click against the pavement. Those are the heels I bought her for her birthday last month after working 3 back-to-back weekends. Arthur, she says, her voice completely flat, completely empty of the warmth she used just this morning. We need to talk. Actually, no, we don't. I'm ending this right now. I stare at her, my mind blanking for a second. Lily, what are you talking about? Are you joking? I point a shaking finger at the sports car. What is he doing here? Lily rolls her eyes, looking at me like I'm a disgusting stain on her shoe. Grow up, Arthur. Look at yourself. You smell like French fries and poverty. You really think I want to spend the rest of my life counting pennies in a cramped, moldy apartment? Marcus can give me the world. He just bought me a diamond necklace that costs more than your entire bloodline is worth. We're done. Don't ever contact me again. I just look at her. 3 years. 3 years of absolute devotion, of working double shifts, of loving her with everything I had. All of it meant nothing in the face of some rich kid's spare pocket change. She sold our entire history for a shiny rock and a ride in a fast car. A cold smirk tugs at the corner of my mouth. I don't beg her. I don't cry. I just nod. Fine, I say. If you want to sell yourself, go ahead. Just don't come crawling back when he gets bored of you. Lily's face flushes with sudden anger. You're just a pathetic loser, Arthur. She spits out. Enjoy flipping burgers until you die. She spins around and marches back to the sports car, getting in and slamming the heavy door shut. I stand on the sidewalk, my hands clenched into tight fists, watching them. Through the tinted window, I can clearly see Marcus staring at me. He has this lazy, unbelievable, arrogant smirk on his face. The look of a man who knows he can step on anyone and get away with it because his daddy's bank account says so. He revs the engine. The roar of the custom exhaust is deafening, shaking the windows of the restaurant behind me. I turn around to walk back to my cramped apartment. I just want to go home and sleep. But the roar of the engine gets louder, way too loud. I turn my head just in time to see the silver sports car swerving sharply off the road, jumping the curb and coming straight for me. He isn't braking. He's accelerating. There's no time to react, no time to jump out of the way. The heavy metal grille slams into my body with the force of a freight train. The impact shatters my ribs instantly. I'm sent flying like a broken kite, crashing onto the hard asphalt 20 feet away. I hit the ground with a heavy, sickening thud, my vision instantly exploding into white noise. The sports car doesn't even brake to check on me. The tires squeal loudly as Marcus swerves back onto the main road, the red taillights disappearing into the night as if nothing happened. I lie there on the cold, dirty street. I can't breathe. Every single nerve in my body is screaming in absolute agony. I spit up a massive mouthful of blood, pools around my face, warm and metallic. I try to move my fingers, but my nervous system isn't responding. I'm dying. This is actually it. I'm bleeding out on the street because a billionaire heir thought it would be funny to run over a fast food worker to impress a gold digger. The sheer injustice of it burns my chest more than the shattered bones. Is this how it ends? Just a nameless casualty in Marcus Vance's perfect privileged life? As my consciousness starts to fade into complete darkness, a sharp, mechanical sound rings out in my mind. Ding, target vital signs critical. Host approaching brain death. Emergency protocol initiated. Binding rich parent system. Binding complete. A transparent blue interface violently forces its way into my fading vision, lighting up the darkness. The text scrolls incredibly fast across my retinas. System function unlocked. Reality rewrite available. DNA modification active. Legal records alteration active. Global memory insertion active. Please select target lineage immediately. I stare at the glowing blue text through my bloodshot, dying eyes. I don't fully understand what's happening, but I know a lifeline when I see one. A system, the kind of cheat I've only read about. It can rewrite reality. It can rewrite DNA and legal records. A twisted, blood-soaked smile stretches across my ruined face. I cough up another mouthful of blood, but my mind has never been clearer or colder. If I'm gonna rewrite my life, I'm not gonna settle for just any rich family. I want the ones who took everything from me. I want the Vance dynasty. I want everything Marcus thinks is his by right. System I command, my voice entirely in my head. Target the Vance family. Richard and Eleanor Vance. Insert me as their firstborn son. Make me the primary heir. Ding. Target confirmed. Billionaire Vance dynasty selected. Rewriting global databases. Restructuring reality. Altering genetic code. Warning, localized memory exclusion applied to individuals Marcus Vance and Lily. They will retain original timeline memories. Commencing reality shift now. The moment the system voice stops, the agonizing pain vanishes entirely. The pooling blood on the asphalt just disappears into thin air. The dirty street, the smell of exhaust, the freezing cold, it all dissolves into a blinding white light. I feel my body shifting, my shattered bones snapping perfectly back into place, my torn muscles knitting together, my entire frame filling with a terrifying amount of pure vitality. My cheap, grease-stained fast food uniform melts right off my skin, instantly replaced by the heavy, comforting weight of a meticulously tailored Italian silk suit. The white light fades rapidly, and suddenly, I'm no longer lying on the street waiting to die. I'm sitting upright on plush, custom leather seats. I look out the tinted window. I'm in the back of a massive Rolls-Royce Phantom. The car is smoothly pulling up a perfectly manicured, mile-long driveway toward a sprawling, palace-like estate, the Vance family manor. The car glides to a stop in front of the massive double doors. A man in a crisp butler's uniform immediately opens my door and bows a full 90 degrees. "Welcome home, young Master Arthur." I step out of the car. My body feels absolutely incredible. Not a single scratch on me. I look at my hands. Clean, perfectly manicured, adorned with a Patek Philippe watch that costs more than a private jet. I'm the firstborn son of the Vance family now. Before I can even take in the ridiculous scale of the estate, the grand wooden doors swing open. A middle-aged couple rushes out. Richard and Eleanor Vance, the ruthless patriarch and the high society matriarch of the Vance dynasty. The very people whose wealth Marcus had used to crush me just 10 minutes ago. But right now, their faces are filled with desperate, overwhelming affection. Eleanor practically sprints down the marble steps, tears streaming heavily down her face. She throws her arms around me, hugging me so tight I can barely breathe. "Arthur, my baby boy, you're finally home. I can't believe it's been so long." Richard steps up right behind her. This titan of industry, a man globally known for destroying rival corporations without blinking an eye, has red, watery eyes. He places a heavy, trembling hand on my shoulder. "You've grown into a fine young man, Arthur. Hiding you away in Europe all these years, keeping your existence an absolute secret to protect you from those corporate assassins, it was the hardest thing your mother and I ever had to do. But you're safe now. And you're home, to take your rightful place at the top." I look at them, analyzing their expressions. The system's reality rewrite is completely flawless. To them, I've always been their beloved firstborn son, hidden away in a European safe house for 20 years to avoid kidnapping plots. Their love for me is absolute, coded directly into their rewritten brains by the system. I smile warmly, playing the part perfectly. "It's good to be home, father. Mother." Just as Eleanor is wiping her tears with an expensive handkerchief, a loud, obnoxious engine roar shatters the emotional moment. A silver sports car speeds up the driveway, braking harshly right behind my Rolls-Royce, nearly rear-ending it. It's the exact same car that just ran me over. The gull-wing doors pop open. Marcus steps out. He's holding a half-empty bottle of incredibly expensive liquor, swaying slightly on his feet. Lily climbs out of the passenger seat, looking around the massive estate with undisguised, sickening greed in her eyes. Marcus doesn't even notice me standing on the top steps yet. He laughs, taking a sloppy swig from the bottle. "Hey Jenkins," he yells at the butler. "Get someone to wash the front grill. Some idiot peasant fast food worker got in my way downtown." I hit him going 60. The sound his pathetic bones made when he bounced off the hood was hilarious. Have the lawyers drop a few grand on his family if he's dead. The entire courtyard goes completely dead silent. The butler freezes, his eyes widening in horror. Eleanor covers her mouth, looking at her younger son like he's a monster. Richard's face instantly darkens into a storm of absolute fury. He marches right down the marble steps, grabs Marcus by the expensive collar of his shirt, and strikes his face with a brutal, full-force backhand. The slap echoes across the driveway like a gunshot. Marcus is sent sprawling onto the ground, the liquor bottle shattering against the pavement and spilling everywhere. Lily screams and backs away, her face draining of all color. Marcus clutches his bleeding cheek, looking up at his father in complete shock. Dad, what the hell is wrong with you? What's wrong with me? Richard roars, his voice shaking with pure rage. You drive drunk, you brag about running down innocent people, and you bring this cheap trash into my home? You are a massive disgrace to the Vance name. Stand up. I have an announcement to make, and you will listen. Marcus scrambles to his feet, trembling, entirely sobered up by the sheer killing intent radiating from his father. Richard turns back toward the stairs, his expression instantly softening into pure pride as he gestures toward me. I stand at the top of the steps, looking down at them like a god looking at insignificant ants. Marcus, Richard says loudly, his voice echoing for every staff member to hear clearly. Meet your older brother, Arthur Vance. He has returned from Europe, and effective immediately, he is the primary inheritor of all Vance family assets and the future head of the dynasty. Marcus freezes. His eyes dart from his father up to me. For the first time, he really looks at my face. The smug, entitled arrogance on his face completely shatters into a million pieces. His pupils contract to the size of pinpricks. He gasps, sucking in a harsh breath of cold air. He recognizes my face immediately. The system explicitly stated they were excluded from the memory rewrite. They still remember me as the poor cashier bleeding out on the street. Arthur? Marcus stammers, his voice cracking violently. No, that's impossible. Dad, are you insane? That's not my brother. That's the peasant. That's the guy I just ran over. I just killed him. He flips burgers. Richard's face turns entirely black with rage. He steps forward and kicks Marcus square in the stomach, sending him coughing onto his knees. Shut your mouth. How dare you speak about your older brother that way? The jealousy is rotting your brain. I stand there adjusting my silk cuffs, a cold smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth. Hello, little brother, I say smoothly. You seem a bit confused. Beside him on the driveway, Lily is physically shaking. She stares at my tailored suit, the luxury watch on my wrist, the dozens of security guards bowing in my direction. Her mind is visibly breaking in real time. She just dumped a man for being poor, only to watch reality itself bend to make him a billionaire's primary heir. She takes a shaky step forward, her voice trembling, forcing the most pathetic, desperate smile I've ever seen. Arthur? Arthur, is that really you? I didn't mean what I said earlier. I was just stressed about classes. You know I love you, right? Please, Arthur, you have to believe me. The crowd of servants and security guards watching couldn't believe it. Who is this crazy woman? They whispered to each other. How dare she speak to the young master like that? She's completely delusional. I hear every word they say, but I look right through Lily like she doesn't even exist. I turn my gaze to the head of security, a massive man built like a tank standing near the door. Captain, I say, my voice carrying the absolute unquestionable authority of the Vance bloodline. My little brother is clearly intoxicated and violently hallucinating. Drag him down to the basement cells. Lock him up until he sobers up. And if he makes another sound, break his jaw. The security captain doesn't even hesitate for a fraction of a second. Yes, young Master Arthur. He waves his large hand. 4 heavily armed guards instantly rush forward, grabbing Marcus tightly by the arms and dragging him across the pavement. No, get your hands off me. Marcus screams, kicking wildly. I'm the heir. He's a fake. Dad, do something. Richard just turns his back, his face filled with hostile disappointment. Take him away, Richard orders coldly. He's embarrassing the family in front of Arthur. Marcus's terrified screams echo across the massive estate as they violently drag him toward the basement doors. Lily stands totally frozen in the middle of the driveway, completely isolated, her breathing shallow and frantic as the reality of her inescapable situation crashes down on her. I stand at the top of the stairs, my hands casually in my pockets, and I look directly into her terrified eyes, giving her a slow, chilling smile. She flinches like I just struck her. The absolute panic setting into her features is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Just an hour ago, she was sitting in that $1 million passenger seat, telling me I smelled like poverty. Now, she's standing in the driveway of my estate, watching the man she thought was her golden ticket get dragged into a dungeon. Arthur, please, she stammers, her voice cracking as she takes another pathetic step forward. You know me. We've been together for 3 years. I was just confused. Marcus, he manipulated me. He forced me into that car. I didn't want any of this. I let out a cold laugh that echoes across the silent courtyard. The sheer audacity of this woman is honestly impressive. She actually thinks she can play the victim right after selling me out for a diamond necklace. I don't even address her directly. I turn my head and look at Richard, who is still staring at the spot where his youngest son just embarrassed the entire family. Father, I say smoothly, making sure my voice projects for the remaining staff to hear. I wouldn't trust a single word coming out of this woman's mouth. She isn't just a gold digger. She's the opportunistic enabler who supplied Marcus with the alcohol he was drinking tonight. I saw her handing him the bottle right before they got into that car and ran down whoever they hit on the street. She's a liability to the Vance name. Richard's face instantly darkens into a storm of absolute disgust. He turns his piercing gaze onto Lily, and I can literally see her soul trying to escape her body. She gasps, sucking in a harsh breath of cold air, her hands waving frantically. No, that's a lie, Mr. Vance. I swear I didn't give him the alcohol. I'm just a college student. I'm innocent. Richard doesn't even blink. He looks at her like she's a piece of rotting garbage that somehow washed up on his pristine driveway. Guards, he barks, his voice dripping with venom. Throw this trash off my property immediately. If she ever steps within a mile of this estate again, break her legs. Two massive security guards step forward instantly. They grab Lily by both arms, their grips so tight she cries out in pain. No, you can't do this. Arthur, tell them to stop. I love you. Arthur. She screams and thrashes violently, kicking her cheap heels against the pavement, but the guards don't even slow down. They drag her backward down the mile-long driveway, her desperate pleas fading into the night. I stand there perfectly still, watching the heavy iron gates slam shut in the distance, permanently sealing her out of the world she just sacrificed my life to enter. As soon as the gates lock, a sharp mechanical sound rings out in my mind. Ding. Host has successfully cemented primary heir status and eliminated immediate threats, rewarding 500 authority points. New system skill unlocked. Heir veto. I keep my face completely neutral, but my heart races. I open the system interface in my mind. The blue text scrolls rapidly across my vision. Heir veto allows the host to instantly freeze and seize all financial assets belonging to subordinate family members. Cooldown time 0. Target must be genetically linked to the Vance bloodline. A cold smirk tugs at the corner of my mouth. I don't just have my father's favor now. I literally control the family's money on a system level. Marcus is already in a cell, but tomorrow I'm going to take away the only thing that gave him the confidence to run me over in the first place. The next morning arrives with the kind of luxury I've only seen in movies. I wake up in a king-sized bed wrapped in silk sheets, the trauma of my past life feeling like a distant nightmare. Eleanor insists on taking me out immediately. She practically drags me to the exclusive Sapphire Plaza, the most expensive shopping district in the city, entirely flanked by 4 armed bodyguards. My baby boy needs a wardrobe that actually reflects his status, she says, her eyes shining with absolute adoration as we step out of the Rolls-Royce. We walk straight into the Apex boutique, a store so exclusive they lock the doors behind VP clients and require a minimum net worth just to browse. The interior is filled with custom-tailored suits, diamond-encrusted watches, and price tags that would make a normal person faint. But the second I step past the security checkpoint, my footsteps stop entirely. Standing at the VIEP register, arguing loudly with the store manager, is Lily. She's wearing the exact same clothes from last night, her makeup slightly smudged, clutching a sleek black credit card like her life depends on it. I told you, the card works. She snaps at the manager, slamming the plastic onto the glass counter. It's Marcus Vance's supplementary card. Do you know who he is? He's the heir to the Vance dynasty. Run it again for the $50,000 watch. I just need the watch. I stare at her, genuinely amused. After getting thrown out of the estate last night, she actually came straight here to max out the credit card Marcus gave her before he got locked up. She's trying to pawn a luxury watch for raw cash because she knows her golden ticket is expiring. The manager looks exhausted, holding the card with 2 fingers. Miss, the system requires a security bypass for purchases over $10,000. I need to call the primary account holder. Just as the manager reaches for the phone, Lily turns her head and spots me standing by the entrance. Her eyes widen so far, they look like they might pop out of her skull. For a split second, I see genuine fear, but then her eyes dart to Eleanor standing next to me, and a twisted, desperate arrogance takes over. She actually thinks she can expose me. She points a shaking finger directly at my face. You, she screams, her voice echoing off the high ceilings. Manager, call the police right now. That man is a fraud. His name is Arthur, and he flips burgers at a greasy diner downtown. He isn't a VIP. He doesn't belong here. The handful of other wealthy clients in the store stop what they're doing. The crowd watching couldn't believe it. What is this crazy girl screaming about? They whisper to each other. Look at his suit. He's clearly old money. Security needs to get rid of her. I don't even flinch. I just stand there, hands casually in my pockets, enjoying the absolute meltdown happening in front of me. Eleanor, however, does not share my patience. My mother's face drains of all color, immediately replaced by a terrifying, aristocratic fury. She steps forward, her heels clicking aggressively against the marble floor, completely ignoring the bodyguards trying to shield her. She walks right up to Lily, raises her hand, and strikes Lily across the face with a brutal, full-force slap. The sound cracks through the boutique like a whip. Lily is sent stumbling backward, crashing into a display case with a heavy thud. She clutches her instantly swelling cheek, looking up at Eleanor in absolute shock. "How dare you speak to my eldest son that way?" Eleanor hisses, her voice shaking with pure killing intent. "You are nothing but street trash. If you ever point your finger at the future head of the Vance family again, I will have it severed." Lily's jaw drops. Her eyes frantically dart between me and Eleanor, her brain utterly failing to comprehend how the billionaire matriarch is viciously defending the guy she dumped yesterday. But I'm not done with her. I access my system interface. Target Marcus Vance's financial portfolio, I command mentally. Activate Heir veto. Freeze all subordinate accounts instantly. Ding, target confirmed. All checking, savings, and credit lines associated with Marcus Vance have been frozen. A cold smile spreads across my face. I step forward, looking down at Lily as she cowers against the glass. "Manager," I say casually. "Go ahead, run the card. Let's see how much power my little brother really has." The manager, sweating profusely under Eleanor's glare, quickly swipes the black card through the terminal. The machine beeps loudly. A bright red text flashes across the screen. "Declined. Account frozen." The manager lets out a harsh breath, glaring at Lily. "Miss, this card is entirely void. You have 0 available funds. Leave my store immediately before I have you arrested for fraud." Lily's face goes completely pale. "No," she stammers, scrambling to her feet. "That's impossible. Marcus has millions. Try it again." The machine is broken. She lunges for the terminal, but the store security guards are already there. They grab her by the shoulders, completely unbothered by her screaming. I pull my Vance Obsidian card out of my tailored jacket and toss it onto the glass counter. It lands with a heavy, satisfying clack. "I'll take the entire seasonal inventory," I tell the manager, not even looking at the price tags. "All the watches, all the suits, everything. Put it on this. And permanently ban this woman from the premises." The manager's eyes practically bulge out of his head when he sees the Obsidian card. A $3 million purchase processed in 2 seconds without a single security flag. "Yes, young Master Vance." The manager bows so deeply his forehead nearly touches the counter. "Security, throw this beggar out into the street." The guards shove Lily hard. She stumbles out the front doors, falling to her knees on the public promenade right in front of hundreds of passing shoppers. I stand safely behind the thick glass doors, watching the crowd point and laugh at the gold digger who just lost everything. I don't even give her a second glance. I turn my back and continue shopping with my mother. By the time the sun sets, I'm back at the Vance estate. The massive halls are completely silent. I bypass the main dining room and head straight for the servant corridors, taking the heavy stone stairs all the way down into the basement. The air grows cold and damp, a stark contrast to the luxury above. I stop in front of a reinforced steel door. The security captain stands at attention, unlocking it for me without a single word. I push the door open. Marcus is sitting on a hard concrete bench in the center of the holding cell. He's still wearing the expensive, blood-stained shirt from last night, but he looks like a completely different person. He's shivering, his eyes bloodshot and frantic. The moment he sees me step into the dim light, he jumps to his feet, rushing the steel bars. "Arthur," he yells, his voice raw and desperate. "You can't keep me in here. When Dad finds out you locked me in a literal dungeon, he's going to kill you. You're just a peasant. You're a fake. Tell them to let me out right now." I let out a cold laugh. The sheer delusion of this spoiled brat is staggering. He really thinks he still has leverage. He really thinks reality hasn't completely shifted to crush him. I don't argue with him. I don't raise my voice. I just calmly reach into my jacket pocket and pull out a sleek high-end tablet. I tap the screen a few times and hold it up right against the metal bars so he can see it clearly. "Take a good look, little brother," I say smoothly. Marcus squints at the bright screen. His breathing stops. His pupils contract to the size of pinpricks. The screen displays his entire personal banking portfolio. His checking account, his savings, his offshore trusts. Every single line reads a glaring, undeniable 0. "What did you do?" Marcus whispers, his voice violently shaking as he grips the bars. "Where is my money? Where is my trust fund, Finn?" I smile, enjoying every single second of his absolute despair. "Dad was so disappointed in your behavior last night," I tell him, the lie rolling off my tongue perfectly. "He realized you were too irresponsible to handle the Vance wealth. So he transferred every single penny of your trust fund directly into my name. You don't have a dime left, Marcus. You couldn't even afford to buy a fast food burger right now." Marcus gasps, stumbling backward like I just shot him in the chest. He falls back onto the concrete bench, clutching his head. No, he mutters, his mind completely shattering. "This isn't real. You're a cashier. You're nobody. Just as he starts hyperventilating, the system interface flashes brightly in my vision. Ding. Host has successfully dismantled a rival's financial resources and shattered their mental state. Rewarding 200 authority points. Authority level rising. I dismiss the notification with a thought. I look at the pathetic, broken mess of a billionaire heir shivering on a concrete slab. He took my life yesterday. Now I own his. I turn my back on him and start walking toward the exit. Wait, Marcus screams, scrambling back to the bars. Arthur, please. You can't leave me down here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I hit you. I'll do anything. Just give me my money back. I pause at the heavy steel door, glancing over my shoulder. The money was just step one, Marcus, I say coldly. Tomorrow, I'm taking your corporate shares. And by the end of the week, I'm going to erase your name from this family's history entirely. I step out of the cell and slam the heavy steel door shut, the loud metallic clank echoing through the basement as the deadbolt slides perfectly into place. I don't even look back as I leave the basement. I walk straight up the heavy stone stairs and head directly for the estate study on the second floor. I push the door open without knocking. Richard is sitting behind his massive desk reviewing some financial reports. He looks up and his face instantly softens into that absolute parental devotion the system permanently burned into his brain. Arthur, he says, setting his pen down. Have you settled in? I nod and walk right up to his desk. I'm settling in perfectly, Father, but we have a lingering issue. Marcus's corporate shares. As long as he holds 10% of the Vance dynasty, he's gonna think he still has a way back into this family. We need to cut the cord completely. Richard doesn't even hesitate. His eyes flash with a cold, ruthless agreement. You're absolutely right. I won't have a degenerate like him threatening my eldest son's position. I'll summon the board of directors immediately. We'll handle this at Vance Tower within the hour. Half an hour later, I'm sitting in the back of the Rolls-Royce heading downtown. The city passes by outside the tinted windows, but I don't care about the view. I pull up the system interface in my mind. The glowing blue text hovers right in front of my eyes. I have exactly 500 authority points left from locking Marcus in the dungeon. I scroll through the system shop. Getting the board of directors to just hand over a 10% stake of a billion-dollar company isn't going to be a simple handshake. These are old, greedy men. They care about stability, and suddenly replacing a known heir with a guy who supposedly spent his whole life hidden in Europe is going to make them nervous. I need absolute insurance. I find a skill near the bottom of the list, Corporate Override. Costs 300 authority points. The description is simple. It guarantees immediate legal compliance from neutral parties during any corporate negotiation. I select it without a second thought. Ding. 300 authority points deducted. Corporate Override perk unlocked. Target area of effect will activate upon entering any corporate setting. I dismiss the prompt and lean back against the seat. I let out a cold laugh. Marcus really thought he could steal my girlfriend and run me over without consequences. He's about to find out what real power looks like. The boardroom on the top floor of Vance Tower is packed. 12 older men and women in expensive suits sit around a massive glass table. I stand next to Richard at the head of the table. The board members are whispering to each other, shooting me sideways glances. The crowd watching couldn't hide their skepticism. Who is this kid? One of them mutters. Richard says he's the eldest son, but I've never seen him in my life. You can't just hand over 10% of the company to a stranger. I hear every word. I don't even flinch. I just stand there with my hands in my pockets. Richard slams his hand on the table, instantly silencing the room. Gentlemen, he announces, his voice echoing loudly. You all know why we're here. Marcus has proven himself a complete liability to the Vance name. Effective immediately, I am transferring his entire 10% stake to my primary heir, Arthur. The paperwork is right in front of you. Sign it. The board members hesitate, looking at the documents. But before anyone can pick up a pen, the heavy double doors of the boardroom violently fly open. Marcus bursts into the room. He looks completely deranged. His expensive shirt is completely ruined, his hair is a messy rat's nest, and he's breathing like a cornered animal. He clearly bribed one of the estate guards with promises of future payouts just to get out of the basement. He storms right into the middle of the room, pointing a shaking finger directly at my face. Stop! He screams at the top of his lungs. Don't sign anything. That man is a fraud. He's not my brother. He's a fast food cashier. The entire boardroom goes dead silent. The board members stare at Marcus like he's lost his mind. Marcus, what are you doing here? Richard snarls, his face draining of all color. You were ordered to stay in your quarters. Marcus ignores our father entirely. He slams his hands down on the glass table, glaring at the board members. "Listen to me," he yells frantically. "His name is Arthur. I literally ran him over with my car yesterday. He works at a greasy diner downtown. He doesn't have a drop of Vance blood in his body. He's conning all of you." The board members start murmuring again. The confusion is exactly what Marcus wanted. If he can plant a seed of doubt, they won't sign the transfer. "You want proof?" Marcus spits, turning back to look at me with pure venom in his eyes. "I demand an on-site DNA test. Right here, right now. We have a corporate medical officer in the building. Let's see your blood, you peasant. Let's see if you're really a Vance." He's completely unhinged, panting heavily, a twisted, victorious smile spreading across his face. He actually thinks he's got me cornered. He actually thinks reality hasn't already been completely rewritten by a power he couldn't even comprehend. I don't panic. I don't argue. I just let a cold smirk tug at the corner of my mouth. "Sure," I say casually. "Call the doctor in. Let's get this over with." Marcus's smile falters for a fraction of a second. He clearly didn't expect me to agree so quickly. Richard looks at me, completely unworried because his system-altered memory tells him I am absolutely his son. "Fine," Richard barks. "Call Dr. Evans. If this is what it takes to shut you up for good, Marcus, then we'll do it. But when this test proves you're a lunatic, you're entirely done." 5 minutes later, the corporate medical officer hurries into the boardroom, rolling a small cart with a rapid diagnostic blood analyzer. It's the kind of high-end medical tech billionaires use to ensure absolute security. The doctor looks terrified, sweating profusely as he unwraps a sterile needle. I roll up my sleeve and hold out my arm. The doctor takes the vial of blood, then walks over to Richard and takes a quick swab from the inside of his cheek. He slides both samples into the machine and hits the processing button. The entire room watches the small loading bar on the screen. Marcus is practically vibrating with anticipation. "You're dead," he whispers to me from across the table. "When that machine flashes 0%, I'm going to have you thrown off the roof. You're going back to the gutter where you belong." I don't even bother looking at him. I already know what the system did. When I executed that first command bleeding out on the street, it didn't just change memories. It physically restructured my entire existence. It altered my legal records, my background, and most importantly, my genetics. The machine beeps loudly. A bright green text flashes across the digital screen. "Match confirmed. 99.9% genetic correlation. Direct paternal lineage verified." Marcus gasps. He sucks in a harsh breath of cold air, stumbling backward like an invisible force just punched him in the throat. "No," he stammers, his eyes widening so far they look like they might pop out of his skull. "That's impossible. The machine is broken. Run it again." "He's a fry cook." I saw him. I took his girlfriend. He lunges for the machine, trying to rip the samples out. 2 security guards instantly tackle him to the floor. The board members erupt in absolute disgust. "This is completely unacceptable," one of the directors says, shaking his head. "Marcus is clearly suffering from a severe psychotic break. He shouldn't be anywhere near this company." I activate my corporate override perk mentally. Ding, target area influenced. The board members don't even hesitate anymore. They all grab their pens and rapidly sign the transfer documents, pushing them toward Richard. Richard stands up, his face twisted in hostile disappointment. He looks down at his youngest son, struggling under the weight of the guards. "Marcus Vance," Richard says coldly, "you are completely out of control. Effective immediately, I am stripping you of your executive title. Your access to this building is permanently revoked. You are officially disinherited from the Vance dynasty. The 10% stake now legally belongs to Arthur. Get this trash out of my sight." "No!" Marcus screams, thrashing wildly as the guards drag him by his arms toward the doors. "Dad, please. He's a fake. Arthur, tell them. Tell them who you really are." His voice cracks, completely breaking down into pathetic sobs as they haul him out into the hallway and throw him into the elevator. The doors slide shut, cutting off his desperate screams. A flood of notifications instantly blocks my vision. Ding. Host has successfully acquired a major corporate asset and completely terminated a rival's bloodline status, rewarding 800 authority points. Ding. Total points have reached the threshold. Host has been upgraded to System Tier 2. Ding. New ability unlocked. Targeted memory alteration. This ability allows the host to completely erase or rewrite specific events in a target's mind. I smile brightly. The power surging through my veins feels completely intoxicating. I just legally stole billions of dollars in front of a dozen witnesses, and there isn't a single thing anyone can do about it. The meeting adjourns. I shake hands with the board members, playing the part of the perfect responsible heir. I leave the boardroom and take the private executive elevator all the way down to the ground floor. The massive glass lobby is mostly empty, but as I walk toward the exit, I spot someone waiting near the revolving doors. It's Lily. She looks absolutely miserable. Her expensive dress from yesterday is wrinkled, her hair is a mess, and her makeup is completely ruined from crying. She must have waited outside the tower for hours hoping to catch me. The moment she sees me, her face lights up with a twisted, desperate hope. "Arthur." She calls out, practically sprinting across the marble floor. She doesn't even try to act dignified. She drops straight to her knees right there on the pavement in front of the lobby doors, grabbing the bottom of my tailored suit jacket. "Arthur, please listen to me," she begs, her voice shaking uncontrollably. I made a huge mistake. I was just so scared yesterday. Marcus manipulated me. He told me he'd ruin my life if I didn't get in that car with him. I never stopped loving you. We've been together for 3 years. You know I'm a good person. Now that you're rich, we can finally have the life we always talked about. I'll leave him. I'll block his number right now. Just give me another chance." She looks up at me with those big tear-filled eyes, using the exact same manipulative submission she always used when she wanted me to pick up an extra shift to buy her things. In my past life, I would have broken my back trying to make her happy. I would have forgiven her instantly. But right now, looking down at her, all I feel is pure disgust. She didn't come back because she loves me. She came back because the bank declined her credit card and she knows Marcus just got disinherited. So I don't say a single word to her. I don't even acknowledge her presence. I simply pull my leg back, forcing her to let go of my jacket and step around her. I walk straight out the doors and approach my waiting Rolls Royce. Lily scrambles to her feet and tries to follow me outside. "Arthur, don't walk away from me. You owe me. I wasted 3 years of my life in your cramped apartment." I snap my fingers and point at my driver, who is standing by the car door. "Call the local law enforcement," I tell him calmly. "There's a deranged trespasser harassing me on private property. Have her removed." The driver nods instantly and pulls out his phone. "Yes, young master." Lily freezes. Her jaw drops. "You're calling the cops on me?" She shrieks, her voice reaching a hysterical pitch. "You can't do this. I know who you really are. I'll tell the press. I'll tell everyone." She starts screaming wildly, pacing back and forth on the sidewalk, making a massive scene. Exactly 3 minutes later, a police cruiser completely ignores the speed limit and violently pulls up to the curb, sirens blaring. 2 officers jump out. They don't even ask questions. They see a crazy woman screaming at a billionaire heir outside his own corporate tower. They grab Lily by the arms and slam her against the side of the cruiser. "You're under arrest for public disturbance and trespassing," one of the officers barks, pulling out a pair of metal handcuffs. "Let me go." Lily screams, kicking at the officers. "He's my boyfriend. He's just mad at me." "Arthur, tell them to stop." The officers force her hands behind her back and lock the cuffs with a loud click. They shove her into the back of the cruiser and slam the door shut. I stand there and watch the police car drive away, her face pressed against the back window in absolute despair. I get into the back of the Rolls Royce and the driver smoothly pulls out into the traffic, heading back to the estate. The city lights blur past the window. I open my newly upgraded Tier 2 system panel. The interface is totally different now, displaying a map of the city's corporate power structures. I've completely crushed Marcus and discarded Lily, but I'm not done. I'm gonna take over everything. I scroll past the Vance Dynasty assets and lock my eyes onto a massive red icon on the grid. The Sterling Group. They are my father's primary business rival, an absolute giant in the tech industry. I select their corporate profile and highlight their CEO's name. I let a cold smirk tug at the corner of my mouth as I tap the screen to initiate my next resource acquisition. The screen flashes with a brilliant gold light, confirming my selection as I pull up the Tier 2 system panel right in front of my eyes. The interface is completely different from the basic version I had yesterday. It displays a massive glowing grid of the city's entire corporate power structure, showing every alliance, every hidden bank account, and every vulnerability in real time. I scroll past the Vance Dynasty's assets and lock my eyes onto the massive red icon dominating the eastern sector of the map. The Sterling Group. They are my father's primary business rival, an absolute giant in the tech and logistics industry, and currently the biggest threat to my newly acquired inheritance. I tap on their corporate profile and scan the data. They control a complete monopoly on the raw mineral imports that Richard desperately needs for his manufacturing plants. The system highlights a critical choke point in their supply chain, Harbor 4. It's the only deep-water shipping dock large enough to handle their massive freight vessels, and their current lease just expired. The system tells me the permanent deed for Harbor 4 is going up for public auction tonight at the Zenith Gala. I read the name of the Sterling representative attending the auction, Julian Sterling, the Sterling family's primary heir and an infamous hothead who thinks his family's money makes him untouchable. In my past life, guys like Julian wouldn't even look at me unless it was to throw a $5 bill on the ground and tell me to clean up their mess. Now I have the power to dismantle his entire bloodline with a thought. I lean forward and tap the glass partition separating me from my driver. Change of plans, I tell him calmly. Take me to the Zenith Gala immediately. The driver nods instantly, spinning the steering wheel and violently merging the Rolls-Royce across 3 lanes of traffic. As the city lights blur past the tinted windows, I lean back against the expensive leather seat and smile. Julian thinks he's walking into a standard bidding war tonight. He has no idea he's about to step into a slaughterhouse. 20 minutes later, the Rolls-Royce pulls up to the Zenith Gala venue. Flashbulbs from paparazzi cameras constantly explode in the darkness as I step out of the car. I adjust the cuffs of my tailored suit and walk straight up the red carpet. The massive glass doors are guarded by a dozen heavy security personnel checking invitations. When I reach the front of the line, the head of security steps in my way, holding up his hand. "Invitation only, sir," he barks, looking at me with clear suspicion. I don't say a single word. I just reach into my pocket, pull out the Vance family obsidian crest, and hold it up right in front of his face. The guard's face instantly drains of all color. He sucks in a harsh breath of cold air, his eyes widening in absolute panic. He immediately drops his hand and bows at a perfect 90-degree angle. "My deepest apologies, young Master Vance," he stammers, sweating profusely. "We weren't informed you were attending tonight. Please head straight into the VIP section." The staff opens the heavy glass doors for me, and I walk into the main hall. The room is packed with the city's absolute elite. Old money billionaires, tech CEOs, and corrupt politicians stand around drinking $1,000 champagne and making backroom deals. I scan the crowd, my system automatically tagging targets with glowing names above their heads. I spot Julian Sterling immediately. He's standing by a massive ice sculpture surrounded by a group of desperate investors who are hanging on to his every word. He's wearing an obnoxious white suit, holding a crystal glass, and laughing loudly at his own jokes. He spots me walking toward the front row. The rumors about Marcus getting disinherited and replaced by a secret older brother have already spread through the city's underground networks. Julian hands his glass to an investor and walks right up to me, blocking my path to the seating area. He's got this smug, entitled grin on his face, looking me up and down like I'm a stray dog that wandered into his house. "Arthur Vance, right? The peasant they dragged out of hiding." Julian sneers, his voice dripping with arrogant hostility. He makes sure to speak loud enough for the surrounding crowd to hear. "I don't know what kind of scam you pulled to get Marcus kicked out, but you shouldn't be here. The Vance family doesn't have the liquid capital to play at this table tonight. Do yourself a favor, kid. Turn around and walk out before you embarrass your old man in front of the real players." I don't even blink. I don't get angry. I just stare right through him like he's a piece of trash on the pavement. I don't say a single word to him. I just casually step around his shoulder, completely ignoring his existence, and walk straight to the absolute front row of the VIP seating. I drop into a plush leather chair and cross my legs, staring up at the empty auction stage. The crowd watching couldn't hold it together. The entire section goes quiet for a second before the whispers break out. Did he just completely ignore the Sterling heir? An older CEO mutters in shock. "The disrespect is insane. I heard this new Vance kid is completely ruthless. He locked his own brother in a basement yesterday." Julian's face turns beet red. His jaw clenches so hard I can hear his teeth grinding from 10 feet away. He marches over and takes the seat directly next to me, glaring at the side of my head. "You're going to regret that," he hisses under his breath. "When Harbor 4 comes up, I'm going to bid you into the ground. I'm going to make you look so broke. Your father will throw you right back into the gutter." I just let a cold smirk tug at the corner of my mouth. I don't even look at him. I just pull up the Tier 2 system interface in my mind and wait for the show to start. 10 minutes later, the venue lights dim. The Zenith auctioneer steps up to the podium, tapping his microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to the premier asset of the evening," the auctioneer announces, his voice echoing over the high-end audio system. "The permanent operational deed for Harbor 4. This is a critical logistics hub for the entire eastern seaboard. We will start the bidding at $30 million. Do I hear 30? Julian instantly raises his numbered paddle into the air before the auctioneer even finishes his sentence. 40 million. Julian barks out loudly, leaning forward in his chair. He turns his head to look at me, his eyes flashing with pure arrogance. It's time to teach him how the system actually works. I focus my eyes on his smug face and activate my newest ability, targeted memory alteration. The system interface flashes red, asking me to define the exact parameters of the memory rewrite. I type the commands mentally. I target Julian's exact knowledge of his corporate bank account limits and his understanding of Harbor 4's standard market value. The dock is realistically worth about $50 million at most. I command the system to rewrite his brain to believe the contract is a once-in-a-lifetime steal that's worth at least $200 million. Furthermore, I completely erase his memory of his father's strict budget cap, replacing it with a delusional belief that his account holds limitless funds. Ding! 400 authority points deducted from your balance, the system chimes in my ear. Target's memory successfully rewritten. Area of effect active. Julian blinks hard. His pupils contract sharply for a fraction of a second, and then a glazed, frantic look takes over his eyes. He shakes his head, completely unaware that his entire perception of reality just got hacked by a power he couldn't even comprehend. I casually raise my paddle into the air. 45 million, I say, my voice completely calm and even. Julian lets out a loud, mocking laugh that echoes across the silent room. Is that really all the Vance family can scrape together? He shouts, standing up from his chair to make a massive scene. He raises his paddle high above his head. 80 million. The entire VF hall gasps. 80 million? A real estate mogul whispers loudly. That's insane. That's almost double the standard market value. Why would he bid against himself that high? Julian doesn't even flinch. His altered brain genuinely believes he is outsmarting everyone in the room. He looks at me with pure venom. Your family is broke, Arthur. Accept it. I raise my paddle one more time, deliberately moving slowly to agitate him. 85 million. Julian's face twists with absolute rage. He slams his hand down on the armrest of his chair, completely losing his temper. 150 million. He roars at the top of his lungs. The room goes completely dead silent. You can hear a pin drop. The auctioneer's jaw literally drops open, staring at Julian in disbelief. 150 million for a shipping dock is absolute financial suicide. It's a bid so stupid it borders on insanity. Julian crosses his arms and glares down at me, panting heavily. A twisted, victorious smile spreads across his face. Try matching that, you absolute peasant, he spits. He actually thinks he's won. He actually thinks he just secured his family's monopoly. I just let a cold laugh escape my lips. I slowly lower my paddle, set it on the floor, and lean back comfortably in my chair. It's all yours, Julian, I say, waving my hand dismissively. The auctioneer stammers, wiping sweat from his forehead. 150 million going once, going twice. He slams his wooden gavel down hard on the podium. Sold to the Sterling Group. Julian stands up and aggressively buttons his white jacket. He looks around the room like a conquering hero, expecting applause. A Zenith Financial staff member immediately hurries over to our section, nervously holding a digital payment terminal. Julian pulls out his exclusive black corporate Sterling card and carelessly taps it against the glass screen. The machine beeps loudly. A bright red error message flashes across the display. Decline. Insufficient funds. The staff member looks terrified, his hands shaking violently as he stares at the screen. Excuse me, mister. Sterling, the staff member stammers, stepping back, but your corporate account lacks the required capital to clear this transaction. Julian's arrogant smile falters for a fraction of a second. What the hell are you talking about? He snaps, grabbing the terminal. Run it again. My budget is completely limitless. My father gave me a blank check for this auction. The staff member nervously takes a card and inserts the chip manually. Beep. The same bright red error flashes again. Decline. The auctioneer, obligated by Zenith's extremely strict transparency rules, leans into his podium microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, it appears the winning bid from the Sterling Group has failed to process due to severe insufficient funds, he announces loudly. The entire Veep section absolutely erupts. The board members and CEOs stare at Julian like he's lost his mind. He doesn't have the money? An investor laughs openly. He just bid 150 million with empty pockets. What a complete fraud. The Sterling family is a joke. Julian's face drains of all color. He sucks in a harsh breath of cold air, stumbling backward like an invisible force just punched him in the chest. The system's memory rewrite is rapidly wearing off, and the reality of his actual bank limits is violently crashing back into his brain. He just publicly humiliated his entire family in front of the city's biggest players. He ruined their reputation in seconds. The auctioneer clears his throat, banging his gavel to quiet the laughing crowd. Under standard Zenith Gala regulations, in the event of a fraudulent bid, the asset automatically defaults to the runner-up at their previous bid amount. He points his gavel directly at me. The Harbor 4 shipping contract goes to Mr. Arthur Vance for $45 million. I stand up slowly and pull out my Vance Obsidian card. The staff member rushes over to me, practically bowing as he holds out the terminal. I tap the card. The terminal flashes a bright green confirmation instantly. Transaction complete. A Zenith executive immediately runs over and hands me the heavy leather folder containing the permanent deed to Harbor 4. A flood of system notifications instantly blocks my vision. Ding. Host has successfully disrupted a rival's supply chain and secured a monopoly-tier logistics asset, rewarding 600 authority points. Ding. Total points have reached the threshold. Status upgraded. New ability unlocked. Asset liquidation. This skill allows the host to forcefully liquidate an enemy's physical corporate assets at a fraction of their value once their market morale is broken. I smile brightly. The power surging through my veins feels completely intoxicating. I just stole the Sterling Group's lifeline right out from under them for absolute pocket change. Julian suddenly realizes what just happened. His original memory fully snaps back into place. He looks at the leather folder in my hands, and his eyes widen so far they look like they might pop out of his skull. "You did this!" He screams, completely unhinged. "You tricked me. I don't know how you did it, but I'll kill you." He charges across the aisle, grabs the lapel of my expensive tailored jacket, and raises his fist to strike me. Before he can even swing, two massive Vance family security guards step out from the shadows behind the seating area. They don't even ask questions. They grab Julian by the arms, twist him around brutally, and violently slam him face first into the nearest marble pillar. Julian spits up a mouthful of blood, thrashing wildly against their grip. I don't even flinch. I just calmly brush the dust off my lapel. I look over at the Zenith Gala general manager, who is sprinting over in a complete panic. This man just physically assaulted me and submitted a fraudulent bid to manipulate your auction. I tell the manager coldly, revoke the Sterling Group's membership permanently. The manager looks at my Vance crest, then looks at Julian bleeding on the marble floor. He nods instantly, sweating profusely. "Of course, Mr. Vance. It will be done immediately." The guards drag Julian by his arms toward the exit. "Let me go." Julian screams, kicking desperately at the air. "My father will destroy you. You're dead, Arthur." His voice cracks, breaking down into pathetic sobs as they haul him out the front doors and physically throw him out onto the street. I step away from the whispering crowd and pull out my phone. I hit Richard's private contact number. He answers on the exact first ring. "Arthur," he says, his voice tense. "Tell me you have good news." I look down at the Harbor 4 deed in my hand. "Harbor 4 is ours, father," I say smoothly. Julian Sterling just made an absolute fool of himself and got permanently banned from the Zenith Gala. Their mineral monopoly is officially broken. I can hear Richard take a deep, shaky breath of pure relief on the other end of the line. "Excellent work, my son," Richard praises, his voice thick with absolute parental devotion. "I always knew you were the true future of this dynasty. The Vance name is safe in your hands. Come home immediately." I hang up the phone. I walk straight out of the VIP hall, leaving the shocked whispers of the elite behind me. The cool night air hits my face as my driver quickly opens the door to the Rolls-Royce. I get in and the car smoothly pulls away from the curb. I don't even look back at the gala venue. I open my Tier 2 system panel again. My authority points are stacked high. Harbor 4 was just the warm-up. I pull up the Sterling Group's corporate profile one more time. I bypass the company assets and highlight Julian Sterling's personal private stock portfolio. I let a cold smirk tug at the corner of my mouth as I tap the screen to initiate my next hostile takeover. The moment my finger hits the glass, a massive warning prompt fills my vision in glowing red text. Target confirmed. Initiating asset liquidation. The Tier 2 system interface completely takes over my field of view, displaying a cascading waterfall of Julian Sterling's private financial data. I watch in absolute silence as his entire life's work is systematically dismantled in real time. His massive stock portfolio, the tens of millions of dollars his family illegally funneled into his personal accounts, every single share of tech and logistics companies he hoarded for himself. It all starts rapidly converting into untraceable liquid cash. The numbers on the screen spin wildly. $60 million vanishes from Julian's net worth and instantly reroutes through a dozen encrypted proxy servers before quietly depositing directly into my newly established offshore Vance accounts. I check my digital balance and let out a cold laugh. Ding. The system chimes in my ear. Asset liquidation complete. Target's net worth reduced to 0. Julian is officially bankrupt. He just doesn't know it yet. In my past life, guys like him thought they were invincible just because they were born with a silver spoon shoved down their throats. They thought they could run over people like me, leave us bleeding on the asphalt, and just buy their way out of the consequences. Not anymore. I just turned the Sterling family's golden boy into a broke peasant with a single tap of my finger. I lean forward and tap the glass partition. "Driver, change of plans," I command smoothly. "Take me straight to the Royal Crest Auto Club." The driver nods instantly, hits the gas, and the Rolls-Royce surges forward into the city traffic. I know exactly where Julian is heading right now. After being completely humiliated and physically thrown out of the Zenith Gala, his pride is shattered. He needs to secure a physical asset, something tangible to prove to himself that he still has power, that he still has his personal wealth to fall back on. And I know exactly who is desperate enough to sell him something under the table tonight. My disgraced, disinherited little brother Marcus. The Royal Crest Auto Club is an exclusive underground fortress where the city's billionaires hide their multi-million-dollar toys. It's a place where status is everything and cash is king. My Rolls-Royce pulls up to the reinforced steel gates. The security guard steps out of his booth, looking bored, until I roll down the window and hold up the Vance family obsidian crest. His eyes widen in absolute panic. He immediately hits the override button, bowing frantically as the heavy gates swing open. We drive down into the massive subterranean garage. The place is packed with rows of hypercars, luxury subs, and private security teams standing around. But I'm not looking at the crowd. My eyes instantly lock onto a very specific vehicle parked in the center VIP bay, a custom matte black Lamborghini. Just looking at it makes my blood run freezing cold. It's the exact same car Marcus used to hit me. The exact same 2-ton weapon he accelerated into my body, shattering my ribs and leaving me to die in a pool of my own blood while he laughed with my traitorous ex-girlfriend. The memory of that agonizing pain flashes through my mind, but I don't let it consume me. I just let a cold smirk tug at the corner of my mouth. I step out of the Rolls-Royce and adjust the cuffs of my tailored suit, walking straight toward the VIP bay. I can already hear Marcus's pathetic voice echoing across the concrete walls. I need 2 million cash right now, Julian, Marcus pleads, pacing back and forth in front of the Lamborghini. He's sweating profusely, his designer clothes wrinkled and dirty from being dragged out of the Vance corporate tower earlier today. My old man completely lost his mind. He froze all my accounts and gave my trust fund to this fraud who claims he's my older brother. But I still have the keys to this car. 2 million is a steal. You can flip it tomorrow for 3. Julian is standing opposite him, crossing his arms with a deeply arrogant scowl on his face. He's got a fresh bruise on his cheek from where my security guards slammed him into a pillar at the gala. Fine, Julian spits angrily, pulling out his Elite Sterling bank card. My idiot father is probably going to freeze my corporate access after that disaster at the auction, but my personal stock portfolio is still loaded. I'm buying this car to secure some hard assets off the books. I'll transfer the 2 million right now, and then I'm going to find Arthur Vance and rip his head off. The crowd of elite mechanics and wealthy club members standing nearby whisper among themselves. Did you hear? They mutter. Marcus got entirely disinherited today, and Julian just got banned from Zenith. It's a gathering of losers. I hear every single word, and I couldn't care less. I step directly into the light, my presence instantly silencing the entire room. Neither of you are buying or selling anything, I say, my voice perfectly calm and completely dominant. Marcus spins around, his face draining of all color the second he sees me. You! Marcus screams, his eyes flashing with desperate rage. You followed me here? Security. Get this imposter out of here. I don't even look at him. I just access my Tier 2 system panel and spend the authority points to instantly activate my corporate override perk. A wave of absolute, undeniable legal authority radiates from my position, forcing neutral parties to immediately comply with my directives. The club manager, a man in a sharp gray suit, practically sprints over to me, completely ignoring Marcus's shouting. Mr. Vance, the manager says, bowing respectfully. How can the Royal Crest Club serve you tonight? I point directly at the matte black Lamborghini. This vehicle was purchased using Vance family corporate funds, I state clearly. Marcus Vance has been officially disinherited and stripped of all executive titles as of this afternoon. He has zero legal ownership over this asset. Halt this private sale immediately. The club manager nods instantly, pulling out his tablet. Of course, Mr. Vance. The system confirms your authority. The sale is officially voided. Julian sneers, stepping right up into my face. You think you can just boss people around because you have a fancy title now? He barks, his breath reeking of expensive alcohol and pure arrogance. I don't care about your family drama, Arthur. I'm buying this car directly through the club's private broker system. Screw your estate. My personal accounts have more money than you've ever seen in your pathetic life. Julian turns to the manager and aggressively shoves his elite bank card into the portable payment terminal. Run the 2 million. Take it straight out of my personal stock portfolio reserves. The manager nervously holds the terminal as it processes the transaction. Beep! A massive red error message flashes across the screen. Decline. Insufficient funds. The entire garage goes completely dead silent. You can hear a pin drop. Julian's smug smile freezes entirely. What? He snaps, snatching the terminal out of the manager's hands. Run it again. The system is glitching. I have over 60 million in liquid assets. He swipes the card again. Beep, declined. Insufficient fund. Marcus steps forward, his desperation instantly morphing into furious hostility. Are you trying to scam me, Julian? Marcus yells, shoving Julian in the chest. You don't even have $2 million? You came here to steal my car while I'm at my lowest? Julian stumbles backward, looking completely frantic. Shut up, he screams at Marcus. He pulls his expensive smartphone out of his pocket and frantically logs into his private brokerage app. The second the screen loads, Julian sucks in a harsh breath of cold air. His eyes widen so far they look like they might pop right out of his skull. The screen displays a massive, undeniable 0. His entire portfolio is gone. Every single share has been liquidated and erased without a trace. No, Julian gasps, his hands shaking violently as he stares at the screen. This is impossible. Where is my money? Where did it go? The club manager types furiously on his tablet, running a background financial check. Mr. Sterling, the manager says coldly, his tone shifting from respectful to completely dismissive. According to our global financial database, you are entirely insolvent. Your net worth is currently listed at 0. As a result, your VIP membership to the Royal Crest Club is officially revoked effective immediately. Furthermore, you owe this club over $300,000 in pending maintenance and storage fees. The manager snaps his fingers and 4 massive club security guards instantly step forward. Impound the Lamborghini as collateral for Mr. Sterling's unpaid debts. Julian looks like he's going to pass out. He drops his phone onto the concrete floor, completely shattered by the reality of his instant poverty. I just let out a cold laugh and step forward, pulling out my Vance Obsidian card. Since the club has rightfully impounded the vehicle, I will purchase it directly from you to settle his debts, I tell the manager. $500,000. The manager's eyes light up. A green confirmation flashes on his tablet as I tap my card. Sold to Mr. Arthur Vance. The vehicle is yours to do with as you please. Marcus practically foams at the mouth. You can't do this, he screams, charging at me. That's my car, my life. I don't even flinch. I just look past him and point at the massive industrial metal compactor sitting at the far end of the underground facility. Throw it in the crusher, I command the club mechanics. The mechanics don't ask a single question. They jump into a heavy forklift, slide the prongs right under the customized Lamborghini, and lift it into the air. Marcus completely loses his mind. He sprints across the garage and tries to physically throw himself in front of the compactor's loading ramp, waving his arms wildly. Stop! Stop the machine! He roars, tears of pure desperation streaming down his face. Before he can even take another step, 2 club security guards tackle him brutally to the concrete. They pin his arms behind his back, pressing his face hard against the greasy floor. Get off me. Marcus sobs, struggling uselessly against their grip. I just stand there with my hands in my pockets, watching with absolute satisfaction as the forklift dumps the multi-million-dollar hypercar directly into the steel crushing chamber. The operator hits the massive red button. The hydraulic presses activate with a deafening screech of grinding metal. The reinforced steel walls slam together, violently crushing the sleek black chassis, shattering the custom glass, and snapping the expensive engine block in half. I watch the machine compress the vehicle into a solid, unrecognizable cube of scrap metal. The weapon that Marcus used to end my past life is permanently erased from existence. Ding. The system chimes rapidly in my ear, flooding my vision with glorious golden text. Host has successfully liquidated a rival's wealth and completely destroyed a hostile asset, rewarding 1,000 authority points. Total points have reached the threshold. Status upgraded to Tier 3. New module unlocked. Mind control. I feel a massive surge of pure intoxicating power rush through my brain. The system is no longer just altering memories or bank accounts. I now have the ability to forcefully command the actions of anyone I target. The sheer overpowered nature of this cheat is mind-blowing. I can turn my worst enemies into my most loyal attack dogs with a single thought. Just as the golden light fades from my vision, the garage elevator doors slide open. Lily steps out into the underground facility. She looks like an absolute wreck, wearing the same clothes she got arrested in earlier today, her makeup smeared down her face. She spots Marcus pinned to the floor and runs toward him. Marcus! She cries out. The police let me go on bail, but I need money for my legal fees. You promised you'd take care of me. Then she stops dead in her tracks. Her eyes lock onto the massive cube of crushed metal being pulled out of the compactor. She instantly recognizes the matte black paint. Her face drains of all color, and she takes a terrified step backward, realizing the only thing they had left to sell is gone. Julian suddenly snaps out of his state of shock. He looks at Marcus pinned to the floor, and then he looks at Lily. His shattered mind instantly connects the dots, realizing that every single thing in his life went completely wrong the exact second he started associating with them. Julian screams, his eyes bloodshot with pure lunacy. You two cursed me. You dragged me into this. Julian lunges forward and violently grabs Lily by the arm, digging his fingers into her skin. She screams in pain, trying to pull away. Give me my money back. Julian roars right in her face, completely unhinged. You owe me. I'm bankrupt because of you. Marcus thrashes against the guards, screaming at Julian to let her go. The entire garage devolves into an absolute brawl, with the three of them screaming, crying, and tearing each other apart right on the dirty concrete floor. The crowd of elites point and laugh at the pathetic display. I don't say a single word. I don't even look back. I just turn around and walk straight toward my waiting Rolls-Royce. The trash is finally taking itself out. I open my newly upgraded Tier 3 system panel as my driver opens the car door for me. I scroll past Julian's ruined profile and lock onto my next, much larger target. I let a cold smirk tug at the corner of my mouth as I prepare to use my new mind control module to completely hijack the Sterling Group's parent corporation from the inside out. The Tier 3 system panel projects a massive holographic web of corporate data directly into my retinas as I scroll through the Sterling Group's executive hierarchy. I lock my focus entirely onto the man at the very top of the food chain, Winston Sterling, the CEO himself. My newly upgraded interface immediately feeds me a stream of high-level encrypted intelligence. Winston is in absolute panic mode behind closed doors. Because I just completely wiped out his son Julian's $60 million personal portfolio, the Sterling Group stock is already starting to bleed in the aftermarket. The wealthy elite smell blood in the water. To stop the bleeding, Winston is hosting an emergency live broadcast charity gala at the Sterling estate right now. He brought in every major shareholder, every high net worth investor, and a dozen financial news networks. His big play is to unveil a supposedly priceless, flawless blue sapphire to the world, claiming it as a newly acquired hard asset to restore investor confidence and prove his company has deep cash reserves. It's a pathetic, desperate illusion. In my past life, guys like Winston used these exact same smoke and mirror tactics to manipulate the market, crushing working class people like me while they hoarded billions in fake valuation. But tonight, he doesn't get to play God. Tonight, I am the one holding the strings. I tap the glass partition of the Rolls-Royce. Driver, reroute to the Sterling estate immediately, I command. My driver doesn't ask a single question. He just spins the steering wheel, pushing the massive luxury vehicle to its limits as we tear through the city streets. 10 minutes later, we pull up to the heavily fortified gates of the Sterling estate. A dozen private security contractors in tactical gear step in front of the car, raising their hands to halt us. I don't even roll down the window. I just access my system panel and activate my corporate override perk. A wave of undeniable legal authority radiates outward from my position. The lead security contractor glances at his tablet, his eyes widening in sudden subservience. He frantically taps the screen, signaling his men to stand down. Open the gates for Mr. Vance, he barks, completely overriding his own boss's security protocols. The heavy iron gates swing open, and my Rolls-Royce glides right up to the front steps of the Grand Mansion. I step out of the vehicle, adjust my tailored suit, and walk straight through the front doors. The Grand Ballroom is packed shoulder to shoulder with the city's most powerful billionaires, politicians, and media personnel. Crystal chandeliers hang from the ceiling, illuminating a massive stage at the far end of the room. Winston Sterling stands behind a glass podium wearing a custom tuxedo, grinning like a shark. Live broadcast cameras are pointed directly at his face. He is right in the middle of his arrogant speech, gesturing toward a glass display pedestal holding a massive, glittering blue stone. This sapphire represents the unbreakable foundation of the Sterling Group. Winston boasts into the microphone, his voice echoing through the massive speakers. Our cash reserves are limitless, and our future is brighter than ever. Do not listen to the baseless rumors circulating tonight. The Sterling family remains the undisputed king of the logistics and refinery sector. The crowd applauds politely, taking sips of expensive champagne. But the second Winston sweeps his gaze across the room, his eyes lock onto me walking casually down the center aisle. His arrogant smile vanishes instantly. His face turns completely purple with rage. He grips the edges of the podium so hard his knuckles turn white. Cut the cameras. Winston screams, completely dropping his professional facade. The cameramen freeze in confusion. Winston points a shaking finger directly at my face. Arthur Vance. He roars, his voice filled with venom. You little rat! You think you can sabotage my son's bank accounts with your family's dirty cyber attacks and then just waltz into my home? You are a pathetic fraud playing dress-up with Richard Vance's money. Winston signals wildly to the perimeter of the room. Security. Detain this corporate spy immediately. Break his legs if he resists. Throw him in the vault. Half a dozen massive private bodyguards drop their earpieces and start sprinting toward me from all directions. The crowd of elite investors instantly backs away, whispering frantically. What is the Vance heir doing here? They mutter, is he crazy? Winston is going to have him killed on live television. He's dead meat. I hear every single word. I couldn't care less. I don't take a step back. I don't even raise my hands to defend myself. I just stare dead into Winston's furious eyes, open my Tier 3 system panel, and select his name. Ding! The system chimes rapidly in my ear. Target locked. Winston Sterling. Activating mind control module. Deducting 1,000 authority points. A massive surge of invisible digital energy fires directly from my system interface, completely hijacking Winston's neural pathways in a fraction of a millisecond. The effect is instantaneous and absolutely terrifying. Winston's jaw snaps shut. His furious expression goes completely blank, his facial muscles freezing into a dead, emotionless mask. His eyes glaze over, losing all human spark as the system takes absolute control of his motor functions and vocal cords. The security guards sprinting toward me suddenly skid to a halt, looking up at the stage in total confusion. Boss? One of the guards asks nervously. Winston doesn't even look at him. I pull up the command terminal in my vision and type a single, simple directive into the system. Tell them the truth. Tell them everything. Up on the stage, Winston robotically leans forward, wrapping his hands around the microphone. The live broadcast cameras are still rolling, beaming his face to millions of screens across the financial district. This sapphire is entirely worthless, Winston says. His voice is totally flat, completely devoid of inflection, like a programmed machine. It is synthetic glass manufactured in a cheap overseas factory. I bought it for $300 to trick you. The entire ballroom goes dead silent. The elite investors stare at the stage, their mouths hanging wide open. Winston continues, perfectly executing my mental command without a single ounce of resistance. The Sterling Group is completely insolvent. We have been operating a fraudulent shell network for the past decade to conceal $3 billion in illegal corporate debt. I have embezzled millions from your pension funds to pay for my personal real estate. We are bankrupt. My family is a fraud. The company is a Ponzi scheme and I am a criminal. The silence shatters. The ballroom instantly explodes into absolute unhinged chaos. The crowd loses their minds. What is he saying? An older billionaire screams, dropping his champagne glass. It shatters on the floor. Is this a joke? The live feed is still running. Another investor yells, frantically pulling out his phone. Sell. Sell every single share of Sterling Group right now. Call my broker. Get me out. The room devolves into a stampede of panicking elites trying to dump their stock before the market fully registers the confession. The financial sabotage is absolute. The Sterling Group is publicly, irrevocably ruined in less than 60 seconds. Right at that exact moment, the grand doors of the ballroom burst open. Julian Sterling stumbles into the room. He looks like absolute garbage. His designer clothes are covered in grease and dirt from the underground auto club garage, and his face is badly bruised from the brawl with Marcus and Lily. He managed to drag himself all the way here to beg his father for bailout money, only to walk into the exact moment his father destroys their entire empire on national television. Julian stares at the stage, his face draining of all color as he listens to the panicked screams of the investors. Dad. Julian screams, his voice cracking with pure desperation. What are you doing? Stop talking. The cameras are on. Julian wildly pushes his way through the panicking crowd, sprinting toward the stage to grab the microphone and cut the audio. He jumps up the stairs, reaching his hand out toward Winston. I just let a cold smirk tug at the corner of my mouth. I access my system interface and fire off a secondary mental command directly into Winston's hijacked brain. Defend the podium. Eradicate the threat. Winston doesn't even blink. As Julian reaches for the mic, Winston pivots with mechanical precision, winds his arm back, and delivers a brutal full-force punch directly to Julian's bruised jaw. The sickening crack of bone echoes through the microphone. Julian spits out a mouthful of blood and is sent flying backward like a broken kite. He smashes heavily into the glass display pedestal, shattering it into 1,000 pieces. The synthetic sapphire bounces across the floor like a cheap marble. Julian collapses into the pile of broken glass, clutching his face, sobbing uncontrollably. The crowd screams in horror, backing away from the stage as Winston just stands there, staring blankly ahead, completely unfazed by the fact that he just knocked his own son unconscious. I casually walk up the steps onto the stage, my hands in my pockets, stepping right over Julian's crying, bleeding body. The remaining security guards are too terrified of Winston's psychotic behavior to even move. I step up to the podium and pull a single, neatly folded document from my suit jacket. It's a legally binding acquisition contract I had my lawyers draft on the ride over. I place it directly in front of Winston and click a gold pen. This document transfers 100% ownership of the Sterling Group's remaining physical refineries, warehouses, and logistics fleets directly to the Vance family. I state clearly, making sure the live broadcast microphones pick up every single word. The purchase price is exactly $1. Sign it. Winston doesn't hesitate for a microsecond. The system's mind control forces his hand forward. He grabs the gold pen and perfectly signs his signature on the dotted line, completely legalizing the transfer of his entire corporate dynasty for pocket change. The second the pen lifts from the paper, my vision explodes with a blinding golden light. Ding! The system chimes so loudly it rattles my teeth. Host has successfully subjugated a major corporate rival and acquired massive physical assets, rewarding 2,500 authority points. Total points threshold exceeded. Upgrading system status to Tier 4. New module unlocked, physical subjugation aura. A massive wave of heavy crushing energy instantly floods into my chest, radiating outward into my limbs. I can physically feel the gravity around me bending to my will. It's not just mind control anymore. I can now exert literal physical pressure on anyone I target, forcing them to submit to my presence. Ding. Mind control duration expired. The system chimes. Releasing target neural pathways. Winston violently gasps for air, staggering backward as control of his body suddenly slams back into his brain. He blinks rapidly, looking around the chaotic, screaming ballroom in total confusion. Then he looks down. He sees the broken glass. He sees his son Julian bleeding and weeping on the floor. And then he sees the signed acquisition contract sitting on the podium with the $1 bill I tossed on top of it. Winston's eyes widen in absolute unfiltered horror. He realizes exactly what he just said into the microphone. No, Winston chokes out, dropping to his knees, clutching his chest as if he's having a heart attack. No, I didn't mean it. I didn't sign that. It wasn't me. He looks up at me, his face twisted in pure agony. What did you do to me? Before I even have to answer, the main doors of the ballroom are kicked completely off their hinges. 24 heavily armed federal financial regulators and tactical police officers swarm into the room, their weapons raised. They were already stationed in the financial district and watched the live broadcast confession. Winston Sterling, the lead federal agent, barks, storming up to the stage with a pair of heavy steel handcuffs. You are under arrest for massive corporate fraud, embezzlement, and market manipulation. You have the right to remain silent, though you clearly already waived that right on television. Two massive officers grab Winston by the arms, dragging him up from the floor and forcefully slamming the handcuffs onto his wrists. Winston cries like a child, begging for his lawyers, claiming he was drugged, but the officers completely ignore him, marching him aggressively out of the ballroom. Julian is still on the floor, surrounded by broken glass. He looks up at me, his face swollen, his eyes burning with pathetic, helpless hatred. "I'm gonna kill you," Julian sobs, spitting blood onto my expensive shoes. "You ruined my family." I just look down at him and mentally activate my newly unlocked Tier 4 physical subjugation aura. I target Julian directly. Instantly, the air around him becomes heavy as lead. An invisible, crushing gravitational pressure slams down on his shoulders. Julian gasps in shock, completely unable to support his own weight. The aura forces his face directly into the floor, grinding his cheek against the synthetic glass sapphire he thought would save him. He tries to push himself up, but his arms give out instantly. He is physically pinned beneath the sheer weight of my authority, weeping into the carpet. I lean down, my voice perfectly calm and completely devoid of mercy. "You ruined yourself the second you thought you could stand in my way," I whisper. I turn my back on him and walk straight off the stage, ignoring the screaming crowd and the flashing cameras. The Sterling family is permanently erased from the board, but my work isn't finished tonight. I pull out my phone and access the Vance Estate security grid. It's time to locate Marcus Vance and completely eradicate the final pathetic lifelines he has left. I don't even look back as I keep the invisible, crushing pressure of my physical subjugation aura fully locked onto Julian Sterling's pathetic body. He stays perfectly pinned to the floor, his cheek grinding into the carpet and broken glass, sobbing like a child while the federal agents swarm the stage. They don't even ask questions. Two massive tactical officers grab Julian by his expensive jacket, completely misinterpreting his inability to stand as resisting arrest. They aggressively yank him up, slam steel handcuffs onto his wrists, and drag him out right behind his weeping father. The Sterling dynasty is completely finished, erased from the elite hierarchy in less than 5 minutes. I step out of the grand ballroom and into the cool night air, ignoring the frantic flashes of the paparazzi cameras and the screaming reporters trying to shove microphones in my face. I get right back into my waiting Rolls Royce and pull up my Tier 4 system panel. The holographic interface projects directly into my retinas, displaying a live tracking map of the city. I input Marcus Vance's name. The system instantly locks onto his exact coordinates, pinpointing his location at a restricted underground facility called the Obsidian Syndicate. It's a high-stakes, illegal casino run by the city's worst criminal elements, a place where degenerate heirs go to gamble away dirty money. The system intercepts a digital communication confirming Marcus is there trying to wager stolen Vance family assets to secure a massive loan. I let out a cold laugh. In my past life, Marcus used his limitless wealth to buy my girlfriend, run me over with a supercar, and leave me bleeding on the asphalt. Now, after I completely disinherited him and froze every single cent he had to his name, he's reduced to pawning stolen goods like a desperate rat just to survive the night. Driver, get me to the Obsidian Syndicate, I command. My driver simply nods and floors the accelerator, the massive V12 engine roaring as we tear away from the Sterling estate. 20 minutes later, we pull into a dark, graffiti-covered alleyway in the industrial district. The entrance to the Syndicate is completely hidden behind a reinforced steel door, guarded by 2 massive bouncers wearing cheap suits and illegal holstered firearms. I step out of the car and walk straight toward them. The bouncers immediately step forward, blocking my path and crossing their massive arms. VIP's only kid, the larger one, sneers, looking me up and down. I don't care how expensive your suit is. You're not on the list. Turn around and walk away before we break your legs. I don't say a single word. I don't even break my stride. I just access my system interface and activate my physical subjugation aura. A heavy localized wave of gravitational pressure slams directly into their shoulders. It happens so fast they don't even have time to react. The larger bouncer gasps, his eyes widening in absolute terror as his knees completely buckle under the invisible weight. Both men smash into the concrete with a heavy thud, physically pinned to the ground, completely unable to lift their heads or reach for their weapons. They wheeze for air, staring up at me with pale, bloodless faces. I step right over their paralyzed bodies, push open the heavy steel door, and walk into the casino. The main floor is packed with desperate gamblers and thick cigarette smoke, but I ignore all of it and head straight for the VIP room in the back. I kick the double doors open. The room goes dead quiet. Marcus is standing at a high roller table covered in stacks of chips and cash. Lily is standing right behind him, nervously clutching her cheap purse. Sitting across the table is Victor, the heavily scarred boss of the Obsidian Syndicate, flanked by 4 massive enforcers holding steel batons. Lying right in the center of the velvet table is a flawless, multi-million-dollar diamond necklace. I recognize it instantly. It belongs to Eleanor Vance, my new mother. Marcus actually broke into her private safe, stole her heirloom jewelry, and dragged it down to this filthy basement to beg for cash. Please, Victor, you know what this is worth, Marcus pleads, his voice cracking with pure desperation. It's flawless. I just need a $2 million loan. I'll buy back in and double it tonight. I just need the cash right now to get back on my feet. Victor picks up the necklace, examining it with a greedy smirk. It's a nice piece, he mutters, but you're a disinherited liability, Marcus. You have 0 backing. Still, $2 million is a steal for this. I'll take it. But before Victor can slide the cash across the table, Marcus turns his head and spots me standing in the doorway. His face drains of all color, and then his eyes flash with absolute, unhinged killing intent. He points a shaking finger directly at me. That's him! Marcus screams, spit flying from his lips. That's the fate. That's the guy who stole my inheritance. Victor, kill him. Have your guys break his skull right now, and I'll let you keep the necklace for free. Kill him. Lily peeks out from behind Marcus, her eyes widening in pure shock when she sees me standing there in a perfectly tailored suit. She shrinks back, absolutely terrified. The gamblers and dealers in the room freeze, whispering frantically. Did he just order a hit on the Vance heir? Someone mutters. The new Vance successor is here. He's completely dead. Victor's guys are going to butcher him. I hear every single word. I couldn't care less. Victor scoffs, tossing the necklace onto the table and nodding to his 4 enforcers. You heard the desperate man, Victor says lazily. Toss this kid in the alley and break his knees. The 4 massive thugs crack their knuckles and start walking toward me, pulling out their steel batons. I just smile. I open my system panel and lock onto every single hostile target in the room. Ding. Deducting 500 authority points. expanding physical subjugation aura to maximum capacity. The entire VIP room violently shakes. An invisible, crushing dome of kinetic pressure detonates outward from my body, filling the entire space in a fraction of a second. It hits them like a freight train. The four enforcers instantly collapse, their knees shattering the expensive floor tiles as they are forced violently onto their stomachs. They drop their batons, gasping and spitting blood as the artificial gravity pins them completely flat. Marcus shrieks in absolute terror as the pressure slams onto his shoulders. He drops like a stone, smashing his face directly into the edge of the poker table before crashing onto the floor. Lily screams and collapses right next to him, physically immobilized, sobbing uncontrollably. Victor doesn't even have time to stand up from his chair. The aura crushes him downward, snapping the back of his wooden seat and forcing him to his hands and knees. The entire room is instantly paralyzed. The only sound is the frantic, panicked wheezing of people who can't even inflate their own lungs. I casually walk forward, the heavy pressure completely ignoring me, and stop right at the poker table. I pick up Eleanor's diamond necklace, wipe a speck of dust off the jewels, and slide it into my pocket. Victor struggles to look up at me, his face turning purple, his eyes filled with absolute submission and horror. He is a hardened criminal boss, but right now he's looking at me like I am a literal god. I didn't know. Victor chokes out, blood dripping from his nose. I surrender the debt. Take the necklace, please. Don't kill me. I look down at him and mentally cancel the aura strictly on his body. Victor gasps, greedily sucking in air as the pressure vanishes from his shoulders. He stays on his knees, not daring to stand up in my presence. You run a decent operation here, Victor, I say calmly, pulling out my Vance Obsidian card, but you're in my way. Bring me your mobile terminal, now. Victor frantically scrambles to his feet, grabs a high-end financial tablet from the dealer, and holds it out to me with shaking hands. I tap my Obsidian card against the screen. I am purchasing the deed to the Obsidian Syndicate for $10 million, I state bluntly. The terminal beeps a loud, successful transaction chime. The money instantly clears into Victor's offshore account. He stares at the screen, completely stunned. I am now the sole owner of this entire facility, and you work for me. Victor immediately bows his head. Yes, Mr. Vance. Whatever you say. I turn my attention to Marcus and Lily, who are still hopelessly pinned to the floor by my aura, completely unable to move a single muscle. I lower the pressure just enough so they can speak, but keep them glued to the carpet. Marcus is weeping, his designer suit ruined, his nose bleeding profusely from hitting the table. Lily is hyperventilating, her makeup completely smeared across her face. Victor, I say loudly, making sure the entire room hears me. These two rats are trespassing on my property. Confiscate their designer clothing. Strip them down to standard casino rags. Then throw them in the basement waste disposal unit. They can sort garbage until they work off a $50,000 trespassing fee. If they stop working, beat them. Victor nods viciously, eager to please his new billionaire boss. With pleasure, sir. Marcus completely loses his mind. No! You can't do this to me. I'm a Vance. He screams, thrashing uselessly against the floor. Dad will kill you for this. I'm the real heir. I just look at him with total disgust. Richard Vance doesn't even know you exist anymore, Marcus. You're nothing but a thief. Lily suddenly starts crawling toward my shoes, her face a mask of pure desperation. Arthur, wait, please. She begs, reaching out with a trembling hand. I have money. When we were together, I secretly opened an offshore account. I skimmed $50,000 from Marcus's supplementary cards. I have the account details right here on my phone. I'll give it all to you. Just let me go, Arthur. Please, take the money and let me leave. I stare down at her pathetic, tear-stained face. She completely betrayed me, sold out 3 years of our relationship for Marcus's wealth, and now she actually thinks she can bribe me with 50 grand. She really thinks her loyalty has a price tag. I don't say a word to her. I just open my Tier 4 system panel, lock onto her identity, and activate the asset liquidation skill. The system instantly bypasses global banking protocols, hacks directly into her hidden offshore account, and drains the balance completely to zero. I don't even keep the cash. I route the entire $50,000 as an anonymous donation to a local animal shelter. Ding. Target's financial assets completely liquidated. The system chimes in my ear. Lily's phone buzzes on the floor. She frantically grabs it, her eyes scanning the banking notification. Her face goes completely blank. The screen shows a balance of exactly $0. No, she whispers, her voice completely hollow. No, my emergency fund. It's gone. It's all gone. She collapses onto the floor, completely broken, realizing she has absolutely nothing left. Not her rich boyfriend, not her secret stash, not her freedom. Ding. The system chimes rapidly, the interface glowing a brilliant gold. Host has successfully retrieved a stolen family heirloom and permanently eliminated the rival's final financial avenue, rewarding 1,500 authority points. Total points threshold exceeded, upgrading system status to Tier 5. A massive surge of heat rushes through my bloodstream, entirely rewriting my cellular structure. It feels like pure raw power injecting directly into my veins. Ding. New module unlocked: biological degradation. The system explanation flashes across my vision. I can now target any living organism and accelerate their cellular decay, rotting their internal organs, destroying their immune system, and aging them prematurely with a single thought. It's the ultimate weapon. No physical evidence, no trace, just complete, unavoidable biological collapse. I dismiss the system panel and turn my back on the pathetic scene on the floor. I walk straight out of the VIP room, holding the diamond necklace securely in my hand. Behind me, I hear Victor's enforcers grabbing Marcus and Lily by their hair, dragging their screaming, thrashing bodies away from the table and down the dark hallway toward the basement trash compactors. The heavy steel doors slam shut behind me as I exit into the cool night air of the alleyway. I walk back toward my waiting Rolls-Royce, ignoring the dirt and grime of the industrial district. I pull up my newly upgraded Tier 5 system panel one more time, scrolling through the massive database of the city's corrupt elites, corrupt politicians, and hidden enemies who ever crossed the Vance family. I let a cold smirk tug at the corner of my mouth as the blue light of the interface reflects in my eyes. I lock onto the search bar, my fingers hovering over the holographic keyboard, ready to select the very first target to test the true horror of biological degradation on. My fingers tap against the glowing holographic keyboard, typing out a single name: Damien Thorne. The system interface flashes green, pulling up a massive data file. I let out a cold laugh looking at his profile. Damien is the arrogant heir to the Thorne medical conglomerate, but more importantly, he's the guy who kept Marcus Vance supplied with illicit physical enhancements. In my past life, those enhancements were exactly what made Marcus untouchable. He used Thorne's experimental combat drugs to boost his reflexes and strength, making him a complete monster on the streets. Now that Marcus is literally sorting garbage in a basement, Damien is the next logical target. I check the system's live tracking map. Damien is currently hosting the Thorne Medical Expo downtown, pitching a brand new muscle enhancement serum to a crowd of international investors. Driver, I say, not looking away from my system panel. Take me to the city convention center. We've got a medical expo to attend. The driver nods and the Rolls-Royce speeds off. I sit back in the leather seat and look at the biological degradation module glowing in my vision. This ability is completely broken. Just thinking about the damage it can do makes me grin. I don't need to throw a single punch. I can just rot someone's cells from the inside out. 20 minutes later, the Rolls-Royce pulls up to the convention center. I step out and head straight for the main hall. The entrance is blocked by 2 VIP checkpoints manned by high-end private security. A guy in a tactical vest steps in front of me, putting his hand on my chest. Invites only, he grunts. I don't even slow down. I activate my corporate override perk. The system bypasses their security protocols instantly, forcing absolute legal compliance into their brains. The guard's face goes completely blank. He drops his hand and steps aside, letting me walk right past him. I push open the double doors and walk straight into the exhibition hall. The place is packed with billionaire investors and medical executives standing around a large elevated presentation ring. Up on the mat, standing under the bright lights, is Damien Thorne. He's holding a microphone, practically bragging about his new combat serum. This formula represents the absolute peak of human potential, Damien says, holding up a glowing vial of green liquid. We are going to revolutionize the physical enhancement market. I walk straight down the center aisle, my expensive, tailored suit catching the light. Damien spots me instantly. He stops talking. His eyes narrow and then a smug, arrogant smirk spreads across his face. Well, 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 Damien says, speaking directly into the microphone so the whole room hears it. Look who decided to crash my expo. Ladies and gentlemen, don't let the expensive suit fool you. That's Arthur, the guy who somehow manipulated the Vance family records. He's nothing but a low-born fraud, a fast food cashier playing dress-up. He actually thinks he can step into our world. The crowd of wealthy investors instantly start whispering. They look at me with complete disgust. A fast food worker? Someone mutters, "How did a guy like that get past security? He's a complete joke. He shouldn't be breathing the same air as us." I hear every single word. I couldn't care less. I just stand at the edge of the mat, looking up at Damien with a deadpan expression. You talk a lot for a guy peddling cheap steroids, I say casually. Damien's face flushes red with anger. He hates being humiliated in front of his investors. Cheap steroids? Damien sneers. Let me show you exactly what Thorn Medical is capable of, you worthless trash. I'll make you an example right here. Damien takes the glowing green vial and injects it directly into his neck. His physiological reaction is immediate. His eyes widen as his veins bulge out, turning dark black against his skin. His muscle mass visibly expands, tearing the seams of his expensive dress shirt. He drops the microphone and cracks his knuckles. The investors clap, clearly impressed by the rapid physical transformation. I challenge you to a sanctioned sparring match right here in the exhibition ring, Damien barks, pointing a massive finger at me. Let's see if fake Vance Heir can take a single hit from a real elite. Come on up, or are you too scared? I smile. I step up onto the mat. The crowd starts laughing and cheering for Damien, assuming I'm about to be beaten to death. They have absolutely no idea what they're looking at. Damien doesn't even wait for a bell. He just charges straight at me like a massive bull. He launches a high-speed punch directly at my head, putting all of his newly enhanced muscle mass behind the strike. It's fast, but to my upgraded perception, he's moving in slow motion. I don't even bother dodging. I just stand perfectly still, look right into his eyes, and open my Tier 5 system panel. Ding! Deducting 1,000 authority points. Activating biological degradation. The system interface flashes a deep, sickly purple. I lock onto Damien's cellular structure. The effect is entirely instantaneous. The moment Damien's fist is about to connect with my face, his entire body jerks violently. He gasps, his eyes rolling back into his head as absolute agony rips through his nervous system. The enhanced muscle fibers in his arm instantly atrophy. His bulging bicep practically deflates, shrinking down to skin and bone in a fraction of a second. He loses all forward momentum and crashes hard onto the mat right at my feet. He clutches his rapidly shrinking limbs, screaming in pure confusion and terror. My arm! He shrieks, spitting up a mouthful of blood onto the floor. What's happening to my body? My muscles? It burns. I look down at him, watching his cellular structure completely break down. The investors surrounding the ring go completely dead silent. The applause stops instantly. Their faces drain of all color. They look at Damien writhing on the mat, his body failing, and immediately draw the only logical conclusion. They think his experimental serum is a complete disaster. Did the serum just dissolve his muscles? One of the billionaires shouts in horror. It's a total failure. Causes immediate muscular breakdown. Cancel the funding. Cancel all of it. Pull our contracts right now. The entire room erupts into a panic. Men in suits frantically pull out their phones to terminate their deals with the Thorn conglomerate. In less than 10 seconds, Damien's entire product launch is completely ruined. I step over Damien's pathetic, shivering body and grab the microphone he dropped. I look out at the panicked crowd and the Thorn executives standing frozen by the stage. Thorn Medical is officially a liability, I announce loudly. Your stock is going to hit zero by morning. I am offering a $1 buyout for the entire Thorn supply chain. Take it, or I'll let you all go bankrupt. From the sidelines, a gray-haired man in a premium suit screams in absolute fury. It's Gregory Thorn, Damien's father and the CEO of the company. You bastard, Gregory yells, his face purple with rage. You sabotaged him. You poisoned my son. Guards, get him. Break his legs and drag him out of here. 8 heavily armed private security guards immediately rush the stage, pulling out stun batons and drawing their weapons. They think they have the numbers advantage. They are completely wrong. I don't even flinch. I just expand my physical subjugation aura across the entire stage. An invisible wave of localized gravity detonates outward from my position. It slams into the 8 guards before they can even take another step. The guards gasp loudly, completely unable to breathe under the crushing kinetic pressure. They instantly collapse, smashing face down onto the floor tiles with a heavy thud. Their weapons clatter uselessly away. They lie there, completely pinned to the ground, twitching and struggling against the artificial gravity. Gregory stops in his tracks, staring at his elite security team completely incapacitated, without me even throwing a single punch. His arrogant rage instantly evaporates, replaced by absolute, overwhelming fear. He looks at me like I'm a monster. I walk slowly over to the edge of the stage and look down at a sweating, trembling Gregory. Damien is still screaming on the mat behind me, his cells continuing to rot away. I can stop his cellular breakdown right now, I say, my voice completely cold. But you have exactly 5 seconds to sign the company deeds over to me, or I let the degradation reach his vital organs. By tomorrow, your son will be nothing but a pile of dust. The choice is yours. Gregory looks at Damien's shrinking, pathetic body. He sucks in a breath of cold air, completely breaking under the pressure. I'll sign. He shouts, tears welling in his eyes. Just save him. Please, take the company. Gregory frantically pulls out his secure tablet, logs into his executive account, and transfers the digital ownership documents directly to my system. I watch the progress bar hit 100%. The entire Thorn medical conglomerate is now officially mine. I mentally command the biological degradation to halt. Damien stops screaming and just lies on the mat, completely ruined, his body permanently weakened. Ding. The system chimes rapidly in my head. Host has successfully completely dismantled the Thorn conglomerate and acquired medical monopoly, rewarding 2,000 authority points. Total points threshold exceeded. Upgrading system status to Tier 6. A massive surge of raw energy violently floods my bloodstream. It's even stronger than the last upgrade. My senses sharpen to an insane degree. Ding. New module unlocked, Genetic Siphon. The interface projects the new ability details directly into my retinas. I read the description and a cold smirk tugs at the corner of my mouth. Biological degradation destroys targets, but Genetic Siphon lets me literally steal their physical attributes. If I touch a target, I can permanently drain their strength, speed, and combat reflexes, adding them directly to my own baseline stats. It's a complete cheat code. I step off the stage holding the digital manufacturing deeds on my datapad, leaving Gregory crying over his pathetic son. The investors completely clear a path for me, too terrified to even look me in the eye. I walk straight out of the ruined expo hall and back into the cool night air. My driver opens the Rolls-Royce door. I slide into the back seat and look at my glowing Tier 6 panel. The city holds an exclusive underground combat tournament next week, packed with the most genetically enhanced elite fighters in the criminal underworld. With Genetic Siphon unlocked, those fighters aren't threats to me anymore. They are just free stat points waiting to be harvested. And exactly 7 days later, I step out of my Rolls-Royce and stand right outside the heavily fortified entrance of the Apex Bloodsport Arena in the city's grimy industrial district. I don't even slow down as I bypass the exterior security lines, using my Vance family credentials to walk straight past the heavily armed bouncers at the front gate. I step through the metal detectors and head directly into the main betting hall. The place is an absolute mess, packed with low-level thugs, criminal brokers, and desperate gamblers all screaming at the massive digital screens hanging above the combat cages. I couldn't care less about any of them. I just scan the room and spot my target immediately. Marcus Vance is standing near the Viep fighter prep area and he looks absolutely pathetic. His designer clothes are completely ruined from spending the last week sorting trash in the Obsidian Syndicate's basement. He literally smells like rotting garbage, and he's practically begging the massive man standing in front of him. That man is Jackson Cole, the reigning champion of the underground circuit. Jackson isn't a normal human. I look at him and my system instantly highlights the synthetic adrenal mutation pumping through his blood. His veins literally pulse with a sick yellow chemical under his skin. Marcus is waving a crumpled piece of paper, desperately trying to secure a hit on my life. I have one last offshore account, Marcus stammers, his voice completely frantic and broken. It's locked under my mother's maiden name. It holds $10 million. All of it is yours if you kill Arthur. He ruined my life. He stole my inheritance. I need him dead today. Jackson just laughs, a deep, arrogant sound that echoes over the noise of the crowd. He looks past Marcus and spots me walking up. The champion sneers, cracking his massive knuckles. 10 million for that weak little rich kid? Jackson says loudly, making sure the entire betting floor hears him. I'll snap his neck for free just to warm up. Look at him. No enhancements, no combat implants. He's just a fragile little suit playing in the wrong sandbox. I accept your contract, garbage boy. He won't walk out of this building alive. The peanut gallery immediately bursts into loud laughter. A dozen gang members point at me, shaking their heads. What is this rich kid thinking? Someone mutters from the stands. Jackson is going to rip his arms off. He's dead meat. I hear every single word and I just smile. I walk right past Marcus, completely ignoring his panicked, hateful expression, and head straight for the arena's registration terminal. The clerk, sitting behind the reinforced glass, looks at me like I'm crazy. I pull out my Vance Obsidian card and slam it down onto the scanner. Ding! $100,000 entry fee paid in full. Process my registration right now, I say, my voice deadpan. I'm challenging Jackson Cole directly to a wager match. I'm staking my newly acquired Thorn medical deeds against his assassination contract. If he wants my head, he can come earn it in the cage. The clerk's face drains of all color. He frantically types on his keyboard, and the massive digital boards above us immediately update with the new match parameters. The crowd goes absolutely insane, screaming and rushing to the kiosks to place their bets against me. Marcus stares at me, completely stunned, and then a smug smile spreads across his dirty face. You're actually choosing to fight him? Marcus sneers, stepping away from the cage prep area. You really are an idiot, Arthur. You got lucky manipulating Dad's bank accounts, but you can't buy your way out of a physical beatdown. Jackson is going to completely destroy you. I don't even look at Marcus. I just step through the heavy steel door and walk directly into the combat cage. The metal gate slams shut and locks behind me with a loud clank. Jackson's already standing in the center of the ring, bouncing on his toes. He looks at me like I'm a walking ATM. I'm gonna take my time breaking you apart. Jackson laughs, his muscles visibly expanding as he forcefully activates his synthetic mutation. You should have stayed in your corporate boardroom. His adrenal glands kick into maximum overdrive. The yellow veins on his neck bulge out hideously and his pupils dilate. To a normal person, his speed would be absolutely terrifying. The referee doesn't even finish the match countdown before Jackson launches himself across the cage. He moves twice as fast as a normal human, throwing a brutal right hook aimed directly at my jaw. The crowd screams, fully expecting my head to get taken completely off my shoulders. But they have absolutely no idea what they're looking at. To my upgraded perception, he's just a slow, clumsy amateur, relying entirely on a biological cheat. I don't even bother raising my fists to dodge or block. I just stand perfectly still, look right into his eyes, and open my Tier 6 system panel. Ding. Deducting 1,500 authority points. Activating genetic siphon. The system interface flashes a blinding, violent red directly in my vision. I raise my right hand and catch Jackson's incoming fist right in my open palm. Physical impact makes a loud crack, but I don't move a single inch. Jackson's eyes widen in absolute shock. He tries to pull his arm back, but my grip is like an iron vise. The siphon activates instantly. I feel a massive surge of raw energy rip out of Jackson's body and flow directly up my arm. The system forcibly locks onto his cellular structure and starts aggressively extracting his adrenal mutation. Physiological reaction is completely devastating. Jackson gasps, sucking in a breath of cold air as his entire nervous system shorts out. The yellow chemical pumping through his veins rapidly drains away, getting completely absorbed into my own DNA. He spits up a mouthful of blood and his massive muscles instantly deflate, losing all their unnatural tension. The cells in my own arm rapidly rewrite themselves. The synthetic adrenaline bonds perfectly with my muscle tissue. I don't just take his power. The system permanently optimizes it without the toxic side effects. My own heart rate spikes as the stolen mutation permanently integrates into my baseline stats. I can actually feel my stamina and reflexes doubling in real time. It's an incredible rush. Jackson loses absolutely all of his physical momentum. His knees buckle instantly and he collapses face first onto the hard concrete floor with a heavy thud. He just lies there, completely paralyzed, his eyes rolling back into his head as his body goes into severe shock from the genetic extraction. He tries to speak, but only a pathetic wheeze comes out. I stand over him, feeling the new power coursing through my veins, and I let out a cold laugh. Thanks for the stat boost, I say casually. The entire arena goes completely dead silent. The thugs and gamblers watching from the stands are totally frozen. Nobody can comprehend what just happened. The reigning champion just collapsed after throwing one punch. What the hell did he just do? Someone whispers in absolute horror. Did he just block Jackson's full power? He's a monster. Outside the cage, Marcus watches his final financial lifeline get completely dismantled in less than 10 seconds. His smug expression instantly shatters. His face goes completely pale and he realizes he's completely out of options. Without saying a single word, Marcus turns around and sprints frantically toward the arena's back service exit, desperately trying to escape before I can get my hands on him again. You're not going anywhere, I mutter. I don't even need to chase him down. I just project my physical subjugation aura straight through the steel cage. An invisible wave of heavy localized gravity shoots across the betting floor. It slams into Marcus before he can even reach the door handle. He screams as the sheer kinetic pressure forces him straight down onto his stomach. He hits the floor hard, completely incapacitated, and pinned to the tiles like a crushed bug. Just as I push open the cage door and step out, a loud, angry voice echoes from the VIP balcony. What the hell do you think you're doing? I look up and see Elias Blackwood, the patriarch of the Blackwood family and the billionaire owner of this underground facility. He's marching down the stairs surrounded by a dozen heavily armed security guards. He points a finger at me, his face purple with absolute rage. You just permanently ruined my main attraction. Elias screams, stepping right up to my face. Do you know who you're messing with? Jackson brought in millions of dollars in betting revenue every single night. I don't care what kind of Vance family money you have, you are going to pay me massive reparations right now, or you'll never leave this industrial sector alive. He crosses his arms, completely arrogant, thinking his private army gives him the ultimate upper hand. He genuinely expects me to apologize or negotiate. I just look at him with complete disgust. You actually think you have leverage over me? I ask, accessing my Tier 6 system panel. I don't pay reparations. I just take what's yours. I pull up the asset liquidation module and instantly target the Blackwood Arena's entire operational banking network. The system bypasses their weak corporate firewalls in a fraction of a second. It doesn't just empty his checking account. The system targets his routing numbers, his shell companies, his crypto wallets, and his offshore holdings. I hit execute. Ding, liquidating all hostile financial assets. Elias's expensive phone immediately starts buzzing frantically in his pocket. The digital betting screens across the entire arena suddenly glitch out, flashing massive red zeros. Every single bank account tied to the Blackwood family is completely drained. $50 million in wager funds instantly vanishes, transferring directly into my untraceable offshore portfolio in real time. The arena's automated defense grids and electronic lockdown protocols immediately power down because the system physically cannot process their server subscription fees anymore. The lights flicker and dim. Elias pulls his phone out and stares at his banking app. His eyes widen in pure horror. The arrogant posture completely vanishes, replaced by a pathetic, shaking panic. No, this is impossible, Elias stammers, frantically tapping his screen with trembling fingers. Where is the money? The accounts are totally empty. We're bankrupt. The security guards standing around him immediately look at each other. They check their own payroll accounts on their devices and realize their employer just went totally broke. They slowly lower their weapons. I look at the unpaid guards and point at Elias and Marcus. I'll pay you all double your standard rate right now if you drag these two losers into the cage and lock the door, I say. The guards don't even hesitate. They instantly turn on their former boss. Elias screams and tries to fight back, but the guards grab him by the arms and drag him kicking and screaming toward the steel cage. They scoop Marcus off floor and throw him in right beside him. The heavy metal door slams shut, locking the two of them inside with the paralyzed body of Jackson Cole. Ding. The system chimes rapidly in my head. Host has successfully acquired a premium genetic trait and completely ruined the Blackwood tournament's financial infrastructure, rewarding 2,500 authority points. Total points threshold exceeded. Upgrading system status to Tier 7. A massive rush of raw system data violently floods my brain, expanding my administrative access. Ding. New module unlocked, neural network hack. I read the description of the new ability and a cold smirk tugs at the corner of my mouth. I can now wirelessly intercept, manipulate, and completely shut down any digital communication grid on the planet. I don't even look back at the cage as Marcus and Elias beg to be let out. I just walk straight out of the underground facility and back into the cool night air. My physical attributes feel incredibly light and powerful thanks to Jackson's stolen mutation. My driver is waiting by the Rolls-Royce. I don't get in yet. I just stand by the car, opening my brand new Tier 7 panel. The Blackwood family thinks this is over just because they lost their arena, but they're completely wrong. I type in the coordinates for the Blackwood Global Communications Array. The system interface expands in my vision, projecting a massive string of encrypted military-grade firewalls directly into my retinas. These underground billionaires really think they are completely untouchable just because they hire a few private security firms and hide behind corporate shell companies. They have absolutely no idea what real power looks like. I access the Tier 7 neural network hack module. Ding. The system chimes in my head, warning targeting global syndicate infrastructure. This action requires 2,000 authority points. Do you wish to proceed? I don't even hesitate. I hit confirm. Deducting 2,000 authority points, the system states, its cold digital voice echoing in my mind, activating bypass protocols. I literally watch in real time as the Blackwood family's absolute best cybersecurity measures get completely shredded in a fraction of a second. The hack doesn't just knock them offline, it rips their entire digital history wide open. My vision is immediately flooded with decades of highly classified data. I see the raw, unredacted assassination contracts, the human trafficking ledgers, the blackmail files on high-ranking politicians, and the offshore bank routing numbers Elias Blackwood uses to wash his dirty money. I'm holding the absolute destruction of an entire criminal empire in the palm of my hand. A cold smirk tugs at the corner of my mouth. I don't just want to take Elias's money. I want to completely erase his existence from the global hierarchy. System, I command my thoughts completely ruthless. Compile every single unredacted file, every ledger, and every routing number. Broadcast the entire package directly to the federal law enforcement mainframes, Interpol, and every rival cartel network on this hemisphere. Execute it now. Ding. Upload complete. The Blackwood Syndicate is completely exposed. I stand by the Rolls-Royce and check my phone. Within seconds, the news alerts start popping up on the global feeds. Federal agencies are already raiding Blackwood shell companies across 3 different time zones. Rival cartels are mobilizing to seize his unprotected territories. His entire legacy is burning to the ground in real time, and he doesn't even know the worst of it is happening right above his head. I put my phone back in my pocket, turn around, and walk right back into the underground facility. I step through the metal detectors and head straight back to the main betting hall. The unpaid security guards are still standing around the heavy steel cage holding Marcus and Elias. When they see me walking back toward them, they immediately step aside, bowing their heads in complete submission. They know exactly who holds the power now. The peanut gallery of thugs and gamblers who were laughing at me 10 minutes ago are completely silent. They press themselves against the walls, terrified to even make eye contact with me. "Look at him," a gangster whispers, his voice shaking. "He just bankrupted the boss in 5 seconds. Don't even breathe in his direction or he'll ruin you too." I ignore every single one of them and walk directly up to the reinforced bars of the combat cage. Inside, Elias Blackwood is frantically pacing back and forth, holding his expensive smartwatch. Suddenly, the device starts vibrating violently. A massive flood of automated alerts lights up the small screen. Elias stares at his wrist and his face drains of all color. He sucks in a breath of cold air, his eyes widening in absolute horror. He's seeing the arrest warrants for his top lieutenants. He's seeing his international allies publicly cutting ties with him. He realizes his entire global syndicate is being dismantled piece by piece. His legs completely give out. Elias drops to his knees on the hard concrete floor, grasping the steel bars of the cage with trembling hands. All of that arrogant billionaire posturing is completely gone, replaced by the pathetic whimpering of a broken old man. "Arthur, please," Elias begs, his voice cracking violently. "The federal agents are raiding my main compound. My international accounts are seized. I have nothing left on the grid, but I still have my private military contractors. I have thousands of armed mercenaries completely off the books. I'll give you total control of my entire army. Just stop the data leak. Please, I'll do anything you want. Just let me out of this cage." He looks at me with tears welling up in his eyes, expecting me to actually negotiate with a defeated dog. I just look down at him with complete disgust. "You think I need a bunch of rented thugs?" I sneer, accessing my system interface again. "You really don't get it, Elias. You don't have anything to offer me." I open my Tier 7 panel and activate the asset liquidation skill. My system instantly scans Elias's biological signature and cross-references it with the dark web's financial blockchain. Ding, hidden cryptocurrency wallets detected, bypassing biometric locks. I look straight into Elias's panicked eyes and smile. "Did you really think I wouldn't find your emergency crypto stash?" I ask casually. The smartwatch on Elias's wrist beeps one final time. He looks down and watches his absolutely secret, untraceable wallet balance plummet from $80 million straight down to zero. The system transfers every single digital coin directly into my secure offshore accounts in the blink of an eye. Ding. Financial acquisition complete. Host net worth increased by $80 million. Target net worth is 0. Elias lets out a pathetic, suffocating gasp. His entire body starts shaking uncontrollably. He's completely bankrupt. No army, no money, no syndicate. He collapses onto his side, curling into a fetal position next to the paralyzed body of Jackson Cole, unable to even speak a coherent sentence. He's completely broken. Marcus Vance is standing on the other side of the cage, watching his absolute last protector get utterly destroyed. Marcus is covered in garbage, completely broke, and entirely out of option. He realizes he's never getting his money back. He's never getting his life back. All that's left in his mind is pure unhinged desperation. "Arthur, you stole everything from me." Marcus screams, his voice cracking with lethal desperation. His eyes flash with absolute murderous intent. Without warning, he pulls a concealed military combat knife from his ruined designer boot. He grips the hilt tightly, completely losing his mind, and lunges forward with all of his weight. He thrusts the serrated blade straight through the narrow gap in the steel bars, aiming directly for my neck. The unpaid guards standing nearby gasp in shock, fully expecting the blade to pierce my throat. A normal person wouldn't even have time to blink, but I am not a normal person anymore. I instantly activate the synthetic adrenal mutation I just permanently siphoned from his champion. My heart rate spikes, pumping enhanced adrenaline straight into my muscle fibers. Time practically slows to a crawl. I can clearly see the exact trajectory of Marcus's pathetic, uncoordinated strike. I don't step back. I don't even flinch. I just raise my right hand and catch his wrist in midair, my grip locking around his bone like an industrial steel vise. Marcus freezes, his eyes widening in pure shock as he realizes his full force stab was stopped entirely by my bare hand. He tries to pull back, but my physical stats completely overwhelm him. I don't give him a single second to process his failure. I apply raw structural pressure and brutally twist my arm. A loud, sickening crack echoes through the completely silent betting hall. Marcus lets out a blood-curdling scream. His forearm snaps cleanly in half, the bone visibly jutting out under his skin. His fingers instantly go numb, and the heavy combat knife drops from his hand, clattering uselessly onto the concrete floor. I let go of his wrist, and Marcus collapses onto his back inside the cage, clutching his ruined arm and sobbing uncontrollably. The physical pain completely shatters whatever pathetic remnants of arrogance he had left. He spits up a mouthful of saliva, completely incapacitated. "You're completely pathetic, Marcus," I say coldly, staring through the bars at his writhing body. "You couldn't beat me with Dad's money, you couldn't beat me with an underground champion, and you definitely can't beat me in a physical fight. It's over. Just rot in here." Marcus rolls onto his side, coughing violently. The intense pain is completely overriding his stubbornness. He looks up at me, his face absolutely covered in sweat and dirt, and he realizes he's entirely out of moves. "Arthur, wait," Marcus stammers, gasping for air. "You don't know the truth. The hit and run, it wasn't an accident. I didn't just decide to run you over outside that restaurant." I freeze, my eyes narrowing. My entire demeanor shifts instantly. I step closer to the bars, my expression completely cold. "What are you talking about?" I demand. Marcus coughs again, clutching his shattered arm. "The Apex Elite Council." He cries out, his voice shaking with pure terror. "They ordered your death." "I'm just a pawn, Arthur. The Council is a shadow cabal, the 10 billionaires who actually control this entire city's infrastructure from the shadows. They found out about your biological father. They found out he compiled a massive ledger of physical evidence proving their global financial crimes before he died. They thought you had the evidence. They ordered me to hit you, to make it look like a tragic accident. They threatened to ruin the Vance family if I didn't do it. I stand there, completely silent, processing this massive piece of information. The fast food worker I was in my past life didn't just die because of a spoiled rich kid's drunken joyride. It was a calculated assassination ordered by the absolute highest authority in the city, the Apex Elite Council. They thought they could just erase me to cover up their crimes. A deep, violent anger boils in my chest, but I push it down, letting cold logic take over. They want a war, they are going to get an absolute massacre. Ding! The system interface flashes a brilliant, blinding gold in my vision. Host has successfully uncovered the true conspiracy of the previous timeline and completely eradicated the Blackwood Empire, rewarding 3,500 authority points. Total points threshold massively exceeded, upgrading system status to Tier 8. A violent surge of raw administrative data floods my brain. Ding! New module unlocked, Cognitive Wipe Aura. Host can now permanently erase specific targeted knowledge from the minds of multiple subjects simultaneously within a designated radius. I read the description and a cold smile spreads across my face. The power scaling is getting absolutely ridiculous. I don't need Marcus or Elias anymore. They are completely useless to me now. I access the neural network hack one last time and interface directly with the Blackwood Arena's automated defense grid. I rewrite the facility's core programming protocols, permanently severing their connection to the outside grid. I initiate a total facility lockdown. The heavy blast doors at the end of the betting hall instantly slam shut and lock into place. The primary generators power down, plunging the entire underground cage area into absolute darkness. Marcus and Elias start screaming in pure panic, realizing they are totally trapped inside the steel cage without any access to food, water, or light. I turn my back on them and walk away, leaving them to rot in the grave they dug for themselves. The unpaid guards immediately scatter, running for the emergency exits before the final blast doors seal the sector. I step out of the grimy industrial building and back into the cool night air. My Rolls-Royce is waiting exactly where I left it. I get into the luxurious backseat and pull up my brand new Tier 8 system panel. I activate the tracking module, entirely bypassing local government firewalls to trace the Apex Elite Council's digital footprint. The system instantly highlights a massive, ultra-secure corporate fortress right in the middle of the city. I look up at my driver through the rearview mirror. "Take me to the central financial district," I order, my voice completely devoid of mercy. The Rolls-Royce glides through the empty streets and pulls up right in front of the massive Apex Tower. This is it. The absolute heart of the city's financial corruption. The The place where 10 arrogant old men sit in a room and decide who lives, who dies, and who gets completely erased just to protect their bottom line. I step out of the car and walk straight up to the reinforced glass doors of the main lobby. 2 heavily armed security guards step in my path, their hands already resting on the grips of their holstered weapons. "Hey, this is a restricted building," one of them barks, his eyes narrowing as he looks at my tailored suit. "Council members only. Back away right now or we'll use lethal force." I don't even blink. I just keep walking forward and access my system interface. I activate my corporate override perk. The system hums in my mind, projecting an invisible wave of absolute legal compliance straight into their neural pathways. The guards freeze. Their aggressive postures instantly collapse and they step aside, bowing their heads in complete submission. "Welcome, Mr. Vance," the first guard stammers, his voice completely flat. "Please proceed to the penthouse." I walk right past them without saying a single word. I step into the private VIP elevator and swipe my Vance Obsidian card. The elevator shoots up 90 floors in a matter of seconds. I stand there watching the floor numbers tick up, my mind racing. My biological father compiled a massive ledger of physical evidence to expose these corporate parasites, and they ordered a drunken frat boy to run me over like a dog in the street just to cover their tracks. They thought they completely buried the problem. They have absolutely no idea what's coming up this elevator right now. The doors slide open with a soft chime. I step straight into the sprawling penthouse. The entire Apex Elite Council is sitting around a massive custom-built mahogany table. 7 old billionaires in expensive suits, sipping premium whiskey and looking over digital portfolios. The moment my dress shoes click against the floor, the entire room goes dead silent. The 7 council members snap their heads toward me. Chairman Osgood is sitting at the absolute head of the table. He's a decrepit old man with a bald head and a nasty scar running down his jaw, but his eyes are completely sharp. He looks at me, his face instantly twisting into a mask of pure lethal hostility. He doesn't look surprised. He just looks completely annoyed that a dead man is standing in his meeting room. "Arthur Vance," Osgood says, his voice dripping with absolute venom. "I heard Marcus screwed up the hit. I guess it's true what they say about sending a spoiled child to do a man's job." He snaps his fingers. Instantly, 12 heavily armed elite mercenaries step out from the shadows of the penthouse. They're wearing full tactical gear, their assault rifles instantly raising and pointing directly at my chest. The red laser sights dance all over my suit. Osgood leans back in his expensive leather chair and sneers at me. "You really are just as stupid as your biological father, Arthur. He actually thought he could walk in here and threaten us with his little ledger of financial crimes. He thought he was untouchable because he had morals. We gutted him, we took his company, and we threw him in the dirt. And now you walk right into the exact same trap. You're gonna share his exact fate." The other council members laugh, shaking their heads like they're watching a clown perform a stupid trick. "Look at this kid," one of the billionaires whispers to the man next to him. "He actually thought he could just take the elevator up here and play hero. Tell the cleaners to bring a mop, he's gonna bleed all over the carpet." I hear every single word they say. I don't even flinch. I just look at Osgood, a cold smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth. "You talk way too much, old man," I say. Before Osgood can even give the order to fire, I instantly activate the synthetic adrenal mutation I siphoned from the underground champion. My heart rate violently spikes, flooding my entire muscular system with enhanced chemical energy. The world around me practically slows down to a crawl. I don't give the mercenaries a single millisecond to pull their triggers. I launch myself forward, closing the 10-foot gap between me and the closest operative before his brain can even process my movement. The mercenary's eyes widen in pure shock as I suddenly appear right inside his guard. I reach out and grab the heavy barrel of his assault rifle with my left hand, violently yanking it downward. With my right hand, I deliver a devastating open palm strike directly to his collarbone. A loud, sickening crack echoes through the massive penthouse. The mercenary spits up a mouthful of saliva, his eyes rolling back in his head as his collarbone completely shatters under my bare hand. He drops his weapon instantly, his body crumpling to the floor like a broken ragdoll. The other 11 mercenaries freeze, completely paralyzed by the sheer physical impossibility of what they just witnessed. A normal human shouldn't be able to move that fast. They stand there with their rifles raised, their hands visibly shaking. "What the hell is he?" One of the operatives gasps, stepping backward in pure terror. "Shoot him." Osgood screams, slamming his fists on the mahogany table. His arrogant smirk is completely gone, replaced by absolute panic. "Fire your weapons right now." But it's already too late. I don't need to fight 12 mercenaries. I just need to completely destroy the men writing their paychecks. I stand completely still and access my brand new Tier 8 system panel. Ding. The system chimes in my head, projecting a massive holographic interface into my retinas. The names and biological signatures of all 7 Apex Elite Council members light up in bright red text. I don't even hesitate. I select the Cognitive Wipe Aura module. Warning, the system states its cold digital voice echoing in my skull. Activating Cognitive Wipe Aura on multiple high-value targets requires 3,000 authority points. Do you wish to proceed? I hit confirm instantly. Deducting 3,000 authority points, the system responds, activating neural interference protocols. A massive, invisible shockwave of raw administrative data violently erupts from my body, expanding outward and instantly covering the entire penthouse. The aura locks directly onto the neurological pathways of Osgood and the 6 other council members. I don't erase their entire memories. That would be way too merciful. I specifically target the exact areas of their brains that store their wealth. I command the system to completely wipe every single bank account number, every encrypted vault password, every offshore routing code, and every single digital authorization key they've ever memorized. Physical reaction is immediate and absolutely devastating. Osgood suddenly stops screaming. His eyes completely glaze over and he clutches his head, letting out a suffocating gasp. The other 6 billionaires instantly drop their expensive tablets and fall out of their chairs, crashing onto the hard floor. They grab their skulls, groaning in pure agony as the system violently rips the most important information of their entire lives straight out of their brain cells. What did you do to me? One of the council members went to whimpers, crawling on the floor and looking at his hands like he doesn't even know who he is anymore. Where are my numbers? Where are my access codes? I can't remember my vault. The mercenaries lower their weapons, looking back and forth between me and their employers in total confusion. They aren't stupid. They know they only fight for money, and right now, the men paying them are crying on the floor like helpless toddlers. They slowly step back, completely abandoning their aggressive stances. They know they're totally locked out of their financial networks now. They aren't going to risk their lives for bankrupt old men. Osgood is practically hyperventilating. He desperately crawls over to a hidden wall terminal behind his chair. He slams his hand against the biometric scanner and tries to type in his secondary vault password on the digital keypad. His fingers hover over the keys, trembling violently. He punches in a random string of numbers and the terminal instantly flashes red. Access denied. He tries again, typing frantically, tears actually streaming down his wrinkled face. Access denied. He forgot everything. His entire empire is locked behind a door he can no longer open. But I can. I look straight at his pathetic, shivering form and access my asset liquidation skill. System, I command coldly. Target the Apex Council's collective digital reserves. Bypass the encrypted firewalls and drain every single penny they've ever stolen. Ding. Target locked. Bypassing secondary vault protocols. Liquidating assets. The wall terminal beeps a third time, but this time it flashes green. Osgood looks at the screen and his face completely drains of all color. He sucks in a breath of cold air, watching in absolute horror as his collective balance of $200 million plummets directly to zero in the blink of an eye. No, Osgood screams, slamming his fists against the terminal. No, you can't do this. That's my entire life. The system transfers the massive sum directly into my offshore portfolio. Ding. Financial acquisition complete. Host net worth increased by $200 million. Target net worth is 0. The interface flashes a blinding gold light in my vision. Host has successfully neutralized the Apex Elite Council Shadow Cabal, rewarding 4,000 authority points. Total points threshold massively exceeded, upgrading system status to tier 9. A violent surge of raw power floods my veins, making my muscles twitch with enhanced energy. Ding. New module unlocked, biological subordination aura. Host can now enforce absolute physical compliance on any target, overriding their central nervous system to force complete obedience. I read the description and let out a cold laugh. This system is just handing me the keys to the entire city at this point. Osgood is completely broken. He slides down the wall, his expensive suit entirely ruined, leaving him as nothing more than a pathetic, bankrupt old man. He looks up at me, his eyes filled with absolute terror. He knows I have the power to erase his mind, his money, and his life without breaking a single sweat. He crawls forward on his hands and knees, dragging himself across the floor until he's right at my feet. Arthur, please, Osgood begs, his voice cracking violently. Don't kill me. I'll tell you everything. We didn't act alone. We were just following orders. I stare down at him, my eyes narrowing. I thought you were the highest authority in the city. Osgood shakes his head frantically, spitting up a mouthful of saliva. No, we're just the middlemen. It was the Genesis Group. They're a hidden syndicate operating completely off the grid. They gave us the assassination orders for you and your biological father. I grab him by the collar of his suit and violently lift him off the floor, pulling his face inches from mine. Why? I demand, my voice completely cold. What the hell does a hidden syndicate want with a fast food worker and his dad? Osgood is trembling so hard his teeth are practically chattering. Your DNA, he stammers, desperately trying to save his own life. Your biological father discovered a proprietary genetic code, a sequence that can unlock actual human evolution. He hid the sequence inside your DNA before he died. The Genesis Group wants to extract it from your corpse. They paid us to kill you and deliver your body to their subterranean laboratory. I drop Osgood back onto the floor. He crashes down with a heavy thud, gasping for air. The pieces are finally snapping together. The system didn't just pick me at random. My biological father literally encoded the future of human evolution into my bloodstream, and these corporate rats murdered him for it. A dark, violent anger boils in my chest, but I keep my face completely expressionless. They want to play with genetics. They're about to meet a monster. Where is the laboratory? I ask quietly. Osgood shakes his head, curling into a fetal position. I can't tell you, he whimpers. If I tell you, they'll skin me alive. You'll have to kill me. I don't have time for this pathetic loyalty. I access my brand new Tier 9 panel and immediately activate the biological subordination aura. I don't even need to touch him. I project the aura directly into Osgood's central nervous system. His body instantly stiffens, completely losing control over his own motor functions. Give me the master keycard to the lab, I command. My voice echoes with absolute authority. Osgood tries to resist, his eyes widening in pure horror as his own hand moves completely against his will. He reaches into his jacket pocket, pulls out a sleek black keycard with no markings, and hands it directly to me. He's crying, a low pathetic sob escaping his lips as he realizes he's entirely a prisoner in his own body. I take the keycard and slip it into my pocket. Then, I turn my attention to the 11 standing mercenaries. I activate my corporate override perk, pushing my legal authority over their employment contracts. You work for me now, I state bluntly. Barricade these doors from the outside. Seal this entire penthouse. Don't let a single one of them leave. Let them rot in here without a single dime to their names. The mercenaries don't even hesitate. Yes, sir, the lead operative says, bowing his head. They instantly grab Osgood and the other crying billionaires, kicking them away from the exit. I turn my back on the pathetic council and walk out of the penthouse, listening to the heavy reinforced doors slam shut behind me. I hear the mercenaries welding the locks shut from the hallway. The Apex Elite Council is officially erased from existence. I take the VIP elevator back down to the lobby and walk right out the front doors. The cool night air hits my face. My Rolls-Royce is waiting exactly where I left it. I get into the luxurious back seat and pull out the unmarked black keycard. I open my Tier 9 system panel and scan the card's encrypted microchip. The system interface instantly translates the data, projecting a set of extremely precise GPS coordinates directly into my retinas. The location points to an abandoned industrial sector right on the edge of the city limits. I look up at my driver through the rearview mirror. Take me to the industrial sector, I order, my voice completely devoid of mercy. Take me to the industrial sector, I order, my voice completely devoid of mercy. The Rolls-Royce's massive engine revs quietly, cutting through the dark, abandoned streets of the city's outer rim. I lean back against the expensive leather seats, watching the city blur past the tinted windows. My mind races through the events of the last few days. It feels like an entire lifetime ago that I was bleeding out on the dirty asphalt outside a fast food restaurant, listening to Lily tell me my life was worthless because I didn't have a trust fund. I remember Marcus laughing from the driver's seat after crushing my ribs with his sports car. They thought the world belonged to them just because they had inherited wealth. They didn't understand true power. Now Marcus is locked in a pitch-black combat cage with a shattered arm. Lily is bankrupt and picking up trash in an underground casino, and the absolute highest authority in the city is currently trapped in a penthouse crying over their empty bank accounts. I look down at the unmarked black keycard resting in my palm. I hold the exact coordinates to the shadow syndicate that started this whole mess. The car comes to a hard stop outside a massive decaying warehouse surrounded by rusted chain link fences. It looks completely abandoned, just a pile of scrap metal and cracked concrete. But my Tier 9 system panel is flashing bright red right in front of my retinas, indicating a massive underground energy signature directly beneath my feet. I step out of the car, walk right up to a reinforced steel blast door hidden behind a stack of rotting shipping crates, and slide Osgood's master keycard directly into the biometric scanner. The scanner flashes green. A heavy, mechanical clank echoes through the air, and the massive steel doors slowly slide apart, revealing a pristine, brightly lit elevator shaft plunging straight down into the earth. I step inside without a second thought. The doors seal shut behind me, and the elevator drops like a stone. I don't even flinch as the elevator descends for a full minute, taking me deep into the Genesis Group's subterranean laboratory. When the doors finally open, I step out into a sprawling central command hub. It's a massive circular room lined with glowing server racks, empty surgical tables, and a towering bank of digital monitors displaying complex genetic sequences. Standing right in the center of the room is Director Mercer. He's a tall, clinical-looking man wearing a pristine white lab coat over a tailored black suit. He doesn't look surprised to see me. In fact, he has a completely smug, predatory smile plastered across his face. He slowly claps his hands together, the sound echoing loudly in the sterile room. "Arthur Vance," Mercer says, his voice dripping with absolute arrogance. "I have to admit, I didn't expect you to survive the Apex Elite Council. Osgood and his billionaire friends were supposed to handle you. But honestly, this is so much better. You just delivered the exact prize I've been waiting for right to my front door." I just cross my arms and stare at him, completely unbothered. "You ordered the hit on my biological father," I state bluntly. Mercer lets out a cold laugh and waves his hand dismissively. "Your father was a stubborn fool," he sneers. "He stumbled onto our proprietary research. The Genesis Group spent billions engineering the original genetic anomaly, the exact code that created that little reality-altering system currently sitting inside your brain. We designed it. But before we could harvest it, your father encrypted the sequence and locked it inside your DNA to hide it from us. We had to kill him, and we had to kill you to get it back." He points a finger directly at my chest, his eyes flashing with greedy anticipation. "You think you're special, Arthur? You think you're a god because you can rewrite some bank accounts and mind control a few old billionaires? You are nothing but a walking petri dish, a temporary host for our greatest weapon. I'm gonna strap you to one of these tables, drain every single drop of your blood, and extract the anomaly to manufacture an entire army of reality-altering operatives that will bow only to me." I listen to his entire pathetic speech, a cold smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth. He actually thinks he's in control. He has absolutely no idea that the system he claims to have engineered has already evolved miles beyond his basic comprehension. "You talk way too much," I say. Mercer's smug smile violently vanishes. His face twists into a scowl. "Subdue him," he barks into his comms piece. "Break his legs, but keep his brain completely intact." Instantly, 12 sliding steel doors around the perimeter of the command hub violently snap open. A dozen genetically enhanced super soldiers step into the room. They aren't normal mercenary. They are massive, standing nearly 7 feet tall, with thick, bulging muscles covered in heavy synthetic combat armor. Their eyes are completely dead, wiped of all human emotion, strictly programmed for absolute obedience to the Genesis Group. They raise heavy, high-tech suppression rifles and charge directly at me with terrifying speed. Any normal person would be dead in a second. I don't dodge. I don't run for cover. I just stand completely still and access my Tier 9 system panel. System I command coldly. Activate biological subordination aura. Maximum output. Ding. The system chimes in my head. Activating biological subordination aura. Target locked on 12 enhanced biological subjects. Overriding central nervous systems. A massive, invisible pulse of pure dominant energy violently erupts from my body, crashing right into the charging super soldiers. The effect is absolute and immediate. The 12 massive killers freeze completely in their tracks, their boots skidding loudly against the polished floor. Their suppression rifles drop from their hands and hit the ground with heavy thuds. They don't just stop attacking, they physically drop to their knees in perfect unison, bowing their heads so low their helmets scrape against the floor. Their genetic programming is completely wiped out and instantly replaced with absolute loyalty to me. Mercer's face drains of all color. He sucks in a breath of cold air, stepping backward in pure shock. "What?" He gasps, his voice cracking violently. "Get up. I gave you a direct order. Shoot him right now." The super soldiers don't even twitch. They remain kneeling perfectly still, waiting only for my command. I look at Mercer and let out a cold laugh. "They don't work for you anymore," I say. "Your biology belongs to me now." Mercer is practically hyperventilating. He realizes instantly that his entire physical defense is completely useless. Panic overtakes his arrogant demeanor, and he violently turns around, sprinting desperately toward the main control terminal at the back of the room. "If I can't have the anomaly, no one can." Mercer screams, slamming his palm onto a bright red biometric scanner, initiating facility-wide self-destruct. "I'll vaporize this entire lab, and your DNA is going to burn right along with it." A blaring siren instantly fills the room, and the massive digital monitors flash with a red countdown timer starting at 60 seconds. He thinks he can just flip the board and walk away. He is completely delusional. I don't even take a single step toward him. I just open my interface and target the massive server racks surrounding the room. System I command. Activate neural network hack. Target the Genesis Group mainframe. I want everything. Ding. The system responds instantly. Warning, overriding a Tier 1 global syndicate mainframe requires 5,000 authority points. Do you wish to proceed? I hit confirm without a second of hesitation. Deducting 5,000 authority points. Initiating total data seizure. An invisible wave of digital intrusion violently rips through the facility's localized network. I don't even need to touch a keyboard. The system brutally bypasses Mercer's military-grade encryption walls in a fraction of a millisecond. The blaring siren instantly cuts off. The red countdown timer on the massive screens freezes at 42 seconds, then completely disappears, replaced entirely by the Vance Dynasty corporate logo. Mercer stares at the screens, his eyes widening so far they look like they're going to pop out of his skull. He frantically slams his hands against the keyboard, desperately trying to manually reboot the servers. Access denied. He screams, spitting up a mouthful of saliva. Where are my files? Where is the offshore network? This is impossible. Ding. Total asset and data seizure complete. The system chimes happily in my ear. Host has successfully acquired the entirety of the Genesis Group's global research data, offshore banking funds, and satellite network controls, transferring $2 billion in untraceable assets to Host's primary portfolio. Mercer's net worth is zero. He has absolutely nothing left. The syndicate he spent decades building is completely erased and swallowed by my system in less than 10 seconds. I slowly walk up to the terminal. Mercer backs away, his knees trembling violently. He trips over his own feet and crashes onto the floor with a heavy thud, scrambling backward until his back hits the cold metal of a surgical table. He looks up at me, his eyes filled with absolute terror. The arrogant scientist who wanted to harvest me is now nothing more than a pathetic, bankrupt rat trapped in his own cage. Please, Mercer whimpers, holding his hands up to shield his face. I'll work for you. I can decode the rest of the anomaly. I can make you a god. I'm already a god, I state bluntly. I reach down, grab Mercer by the throat, and violently lift him off the floor. He chokes, his legs kicking desperately in the air. I access my system panel and select the genetic siphon ability. System, extract his foundational knowledge. Take everything in his brain regarding the anomaly. Ding, target lock. Activating genetic siphon. A violent surge of energy rips out of Mercer's body and flows directly into my arm. Mercer lets out a suffocating, agonizing scream. His eyes roll completely back into his head as the system violently rips the complex scientific data right out of his neural pathways. The physical toll of the extraction instantly fries his central nervous system. His limbs go completely limp, twitching uncontrollably as total paralysis sets in. I drop him to the floor. He lies there, a drooling, immobile mess, completely trapped in his own broken body. Ding. A massive, blinding golden light erupts across my vision. Host has completely eradicated the Genesis Group threat, rewarding 10,000 authority points. The number is absolutely staggering. A violent, massive surge of raw power floods my veins, reshaping my bone density, my muscular structure, and my neural processing speed. Ding. Final threshold massively exceeded. Upgrading system to Tier 10 Apex status. Unlocking final module, reality synthesis. Host now possesses permanent, unblockable dominion over the city's entire financial and biological structures. Reality can now be rewritten at will without authority point cost limits. I look at the notification, my heart pounding with absolute dominance. It's over. The system is fully unlocked. There is no one left to challenge me. I turn my head and look at the 12 kneeling super soldiers. Dismantle every piece of valuable equipment in this lab I command. Then pick up this piece of trash. I point down at the paralyzed, drooling Mercer. Transport him to the Apex Bloodsport arena. Throw him in the center of the combat cage and tell the arena guards he's the new permanent, immobile target practice dummy for all future combatants. Let him live the rest of his pathetic life getting his bones broken every single day. Yes, sir. The super soldiers respond in perfect, simultaneous obedience. They instantly stand up and march toward Mercer, grabbing his limp body by the collar and dragging him away like a sack of garbage. I turn my back on the ruined laboratory, step back into the elevator, and ride it to the surface. The cool night air hits my face as I walk out of the abandoned warehouse. My driver is standing by the open door of the Rolls-Royce. Take me home, I say. The drive back to the Vance estate is completely quiet. I sit in the back, effortlessly scrolling through the massive database of the Genesis Group, transferring their billion-dollar shell companies directly into the Vance Dynasty portfolio. When the car finally pulls through the massive iron gates of the estate, the sun is just beginning to rise, casting a bright golden light over the sprawling mansion. I step out of the car and walk up the wide marble steps. Richard and Eleanor Vance are already waiting for me at the massive front doors. They aren't treating me like just a son anymore. They look at me with absolute reverence, their eyes filled with unquestioning devotion. Richard steps forward, holding a thick stack of finalized legal documents bound in expensive leather. Arthur, Richard says, his voice completely steady and filled with unconditional surrender. The board of directors completely folded after the Apex Council collapsed. The lawyers worked all night. It's done. He hands me the heavy leather binder. Full, uncontested ownership of the Vance dynasty, every subsidiary, and every single trust fund. It is entirely in your name. We step down today. You are the absolute head of the family. Eleanor steps forward and gently straightens the lapel of my suit, offering a warm, adoring smile. We're so proud of you, Arthur. I take the documents, the weight of the massive corporate empire resting easily in my hand. I don't say a word. I just nod, walking past them and heading straight upstairs to the master suite balcony. I step out into the cool morning breeze and look down at the sprawling city stretching out to the horizon. Every single skyscraper, every bank, every elite family, and every hidden syndicate now directly answers to me. Marcus is rotting in a dark cage with broken bones. Lily is bankrupt and scrubbing floors in an underground casino. The arrogant council members are trapped in a penthouse crying over empty bank accounts. And the architect of it all is a paralyzed punching bag. I open my Tier 10 system panel, watching the golden text of the reality synthesis module shimmer in my vision. I started as a bleeding fast food worker on the dirty asphalt, and now I hold infinite wealth and absolute power in the palm of my hand. I let out a cold laugh, a smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth as I stare down at my city. I am the undisputed sovereign, and reality is exactly whatever I say it is.